All right, what's good, everybody? Hope everybody doing good tonight. Welcome y'all back to another edition of Heart of the City podcast. So tonight we're just gonna be going around the city, um, touching on the different teams, touching on some different topics. Um, Today's been a big day, especially for the football teams, particularly the Giants and the Jets. So we're gonna talk about that. Um, Also, going to get into the rumors of Donovan Mitchell potentially having a deal close to land Donovan Mitchell, and that's talking about the New York Knicks, of course. So the Nets made a couple signings, and of course, the Yankees and the Mets are all both pushing for playoffs right now. So we're gonna get into all that, but that being said, welcome everybody. Appreciate all y'all support. Please like, share, subscribe, um, if you can, and we about to get into it. I'm gonna just chit chat a little bit until we get a couple people in here. What's good, Hit? I see my boy Hit Squad in the building. What's up, bro? What's good, man? Appreciate you for joining. Appreciate your support. Um, and I hope my audio's good for everybody because I'm on new equipment and I obviously can't hear the stream. I can only hear myself. So um, if I sound too loud or too soft, please let me know in the chat. And so let's get into this real quick. Now, I'm just going to start off with the light work, which is the basketball teams. Starting with the starting with the Knicks. So now with the Knicks, you have R.J. Barrett, who they signed to a or is rumored to be signed to. I think they finalizing the deal now. 4 year, $120 million extension. So does that take the Donovan Mitchell deal off the table? I don't think it does. I think I think this deal's still going to get done. Um, it seems inevitable. Um, and as Coach Ed and a few other Knicks fans have said, I don't know if this is the right move for them. I really don't. I don't know if this is the right move for the Knicks. I know the Knicks always want to make a splash. That's how they've been. Going back to Carmelo, um, and they've been chasing after guys like LeBron James, Kevin Durant, you name it. The Knicks, the Knicks want superstars on the team. But what I'm saying is, if you're the Knicks, why not just build around R.J. Barrett and Mitch Robinson and your core young players? Because you see, the Nets made the same mistake. Nets made the same mistake of not building around their young talent when they had Dinwiddie, Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, and all those cats. So the Nets definitely made a mistake not building around their young talent, and I'm interested to see if the Knicks going to make the same mistake because you got to think too. The Nets don't have a draft pick until like 2030. So if the Knicks are giving up all their draft capital to go get Donovan Mitchell, and for some reason they fail and don't win the chip, that's going to be a big indictment on that franchise. I mean, it's like they already have enough black marks on their franchise. So, I mean, we looking at possibly, I think they saying 5 firsts plus quickly and maybe Obi Toppin too. That's a lot. That's a lot to give up, man, for one guy. For one player. That's pretty much what they're doing. They're giving all that up for one dude, and is it worth it? Does the Knicks landing Donovan Mitchell make them better than the Celtics? Does it make them better than the Heat? Does it make them better than the Brooklyn Nets? Does it make them better than the Bucks, the Milwaukee Bucks? So you got a good 4 or 5 teams, even if you do go get Donovan Mitchell. So I don't know if that's the right move. I'm honestly skeptical if that's the right move for the Knicks because I don't think Donovan Mitchell gets them over the hump, regardless or not who they give up and what they give up. You're still not better than the Heat, the Bucks, the Nets, or the Celtics. So, are you willing to do that deal, mortgage your future for a guy that's probably not going to get you a title right now because you have still got teams that's way better than you, and not we ain't even talk about the Western Conference. Let's just see them get through the East. They can make it through the East. That'll be an accomplishment with Donovan Mitchell. But that'll probably be Knicks fans, equivalent of a championship because this franchise has been starving for way too long as far as being relevant and having any type of, you know, uh, any type of winning or any type of championship playoff aspirations. It's been a while. It's been a real long time. So um, let's see. Now let's let's pop it over to the Nets real quick. So signed. The Nets went out and signed Markeith Morris, and also this dude's name Yada Wadabi. I'm sorry if I butchered that name, but it is what it is, But they signed Markeith Morris to add depth to the bench, obviously to be kind of that backup uh, big man for the Durant and also um, Nick Claxton. So and they still got um, Sharp. So I think the Nets are building a core, a good core around KD, Kyrie, and Ben Simmons. Now, if you look at the team they got now, and I put this out on Twitter, they have two, the top two actually, 3-point shooters in the NBA, and that's Seth Curry and Joe Harris as far as percentage wise. And so now if you got guys like um if you got guys like Ben Simmons, you know, of course you got Claxton, you got Sharp or whatever. anyhow, you need shooters around those guys because Durant's gonna be double teamed. Kyrie's gonna see a lot of attention, and so is Simmons. Um, I would play Simmons at the 4 if I was the Nets, and I think that's a good bet now, given the pieces that they added. Um, and you can't sleep on guys like Cam Thomas. You know, you also got Seth Curry, Patty Mills, of course Joe Harris. I said, and you still got um, what's his name? Oh yeah, T.J. Warren. They signed T.J. Warren, so they do have a solid core to build around outside of just KD. So look for the Nets to continue to try to add pieces and move pieces around in order to get that right chemistry with these guys. Because remember, we haven't seen KD, Kyrie, and Simmons play together at all. I'm hoping it works out, but we shall see. All right. So quickly going around the city real quick again. Yankees playing the Astros tonight. The story, of course, surrounding the Yankees, outside of them making the playoffs and winning the World Series, which is ultimately the goal, and that's Aaron Judge. That's Aaron Judge chasing the Hank Aaron uh, home run record. So I think he's at 48 or 49 right now. Not sure. So he's close. Probably like 12 or 13 more home runs, and you're gonna have a new home run champion in the books because we know really that's not really the record, but baseball is not going to honor certain players because of the PED thing. So right now it's Hank Aaron as it stands. So you got that going on. Yankees got about a seven game lead on the Tampa Bay Rays. So I'm thinking they're probably going to cruise into the playoffs. Hopefully they can get some players back from injury, and we shall see from there. And then you got the Mets. The Mets still trying to fight off Atlanta. The Mets had a decent lead, but now the lead is down to just 3 games. And it's funny because I was looking at it earlier, and despite the Mets having the second best record in baseball, I think they have the slimmest division lead out of all the teams, which is crazy. So that tells you that the NL East is a very tough division because despite having like I said, the second best record in baseball, they only got a 3 game lead um, for the division. So what's good, Jeffy? I see you. You can hop on if you want. I'm gonna paste the link in the chat real quick. Right. There's that. Yeah. But I was just talking about your favorite team, or one of your favorite teams, Jeffrey, which is the Mets. So the Mets are trying to fight off the Braves. And like I said, despite having one of the best records, well, the second best record in baseball, they're still trying to fend off those pesky Braves. And so that's interesting because the Yankees actually been slipping and they still somehow have a 7 game lead in their division. So I'm just looking for basically the Yankees to get healthy going into the playoffs. I think that's kind of the main goal. I think they kind of know they got the division wrapped up, and I think that they should be thinking long term as far as playoffs and not try to push too hard for the to catch the Astros for the best record in the major leagues. But what's good, Jeffy? How you doing, man? Appreciate you joining me.
No problem at all, man. Thank you for having me on the stream. As always, always love your content. Always love what you do out there, and love what you're bringing to the table right now. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. Um, Wondering why your audio's a little low. Maybe it's my. Oh, hold up, I got you. It's my earbuds. All right, I'm here with you, Jeffy. Yeah, I got
Can you hear me? Okay.
you. Yeah. You good now?
All right. Thank
All
you.
right. But yeah, I was just going through, just kind of going around the heart of the city before I get into the deep content, which is obviously the football teams. But just to recap, I was touching on the Knicks signing R.J. Barrett, or supposedly signing R.J. Barrett to a 4-year, $120 million extension. I don't know if that deal is finalized or not, but they said they were working on it. And I was just wondering, does that take the Donovan Mitchell deal off the table? Because to me, like I said, and shout out to Coach Ed, appreciate you
How you doing,
joining the
Coach?
show, Coach.
What's up, everyone? How you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
But like I was saying, if the Knicks get Mitchell, even if they get Mitchell, does that make them better than the Heat? Does that make them better than the Celtics? Does that make them better than the Milwaukee Bucks? Does that make them better than the Nets? I mean, these are the questions Knicks fans have to ask themselves while pounding the table for Donovan Mitchell. Now, I know Mitchell's a good player, you know, and I know the Knicks were kind of kicking themselves that they couldn't pass on drafting him. But at the same time, if you're giving up Quickly or Grimes and Toppin and 5 first, that's what I'm seeing on Twitter is the offer. I don't know if you do that. And if you do that and you don't win a chip, where does that leave your franchise? So that's kind of what I put out there earlier. Appreciate y'all for joining, but I will let me fix this thing real quick. All right, I will let y'all comment on that real quick.
I'll let Coach Ed go first because he's the Knicks fan.
Yeah,
I know he's been vocal about this for a while.
All right. Of course, it's going to be contingent upon what is given up. All right. With everything that you just said, no. Alan Hahn today on the Michael Kay show said something that was interesting. He did include a 3-team deal, shipping out Evan Fournier, Grimes. Now, the 5 draft picks included, I believe, 2 from the Lakers. Now, the Knicks would get back not only Donovan Mitchell, but Rudy Gay, that he alluded to in terms of doing that deal. And you basically give up 2 unprotected and 1 protected draft pick, and then, of course, you get 2 from the Lakers. That's where your 5 draft picks come into play. Now, if you're doing that, honestly, yeah, I could see them doing that because you're getting good value back. Now, I still have questions about the starting backcourt, about the size. Teams will attack them, but, I understand Donovan Mitchell. I understand Brunson. You just re-signed JR, Julius and Mitchell Robinson. That's a decent, if not middle of the East starting 5. And he basically alluded to the Knicks at that point in time would basically be anywhere between 6 to 4. And I kind of agree with them if that is the scenario. But if you're giving up all your, most of your draft picks, you're giving up Grimes, you're giving up Obi, Quickly, 5 draft picks by yourself, no. I'm not doing that because you're mortgaging your future. and it's not worth it. But in that scenario that he presented, then I could see you doing it because you're not only getting a third team involved, but you're not giving up all your assets, and now you're keeping assets. So in the future, if you want to make other trades, you could still do it. And now that's being smart and prudent in terms of running an organization.
Yeah,
I
I totally agree. I totally agree. But shout out to my homie Big Fan Breezy with the Brooklyn Nets vlog. Um, if you want to hit the link and come up, we are talking basketball. I know this is your subject. If you want to spit your 2 cents real quick before we move off the basketball and get into the football, because I know the football been heavy, but I did want to touch on these topics, especially the Knicks, and we're gonna get into the Nets here in just a second. But go ahead, Jeffy. Say your spill.
Well, I mean, Coach Ed just perfectly explained it as well. I mean, also, do you really want to deplete your entire depth and all the draft capital that you've been gathering together over the years just for a potential chance to be a playoff team? I mean, is that what you really want to be as a middle of the road playoff team? Because no disrespect to the Knicks, if they are able to acquire a guy like Donovan Mitchell and pair him with a Jalen Brunson, and if R.J. Barrett is not included in that deal, which we believe he won't, is that team going to be better than the Bucks? I don't think so because I think the Bucks are still, when it comes to like their top players, I think I would still take them over the Knicks, as well as the superstar comparison. I think the Nets have actually become a lot deeper of a team now because they've been able to put aside this whole Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving stuff, and they've been able to focus on building the rest of their roster, including the front court. The Miami Heat, I mean, they still have a couple of good stars over there in Adebayo, obviously Jimmy Butler. They have Lowry, and they have themselves a pretty decent deep team over there. And I mean, the Atlanta Hawks are even a team that you have to think about now too when they bring over a defensive-minded guard like Deontay Murray, who could also score 20 points per game. You pair him with Trae Young as well as John Collins. I mean, that team's also going to be a team you got to think about and worry about too. So it's really about, are the Knicks willing to mortgage some of their young assets and draft capital for the opportunity to be a fourth, fifth, sixth seed for the next few years? I wouldn't do it. I would just continue building up the core that you have now, going into the next couple of years, use that draft capital and see if maybe an even better star is available, or maybe you just continue to see how you do in the draft, and you can continue to build the depth on that roster. And who knows? You could be the next Boston. You could be the next Phoenix. You could be one of those teams, Golden State, that's been able to build a core within and doesn't have to go out there and trade for a superstar. So I think the Knicks should just stick with what they have right now, not risk and just trading all these young assets and draft picks away for a quick fix like Donovan Mitchell, as good of a player as he is. You got to think about the positioning you'll be in. You'll pretty much be. Remember what the Atlanta Hawks was for a while? For years, they were like that middle of the road team for a while. Do you think the Knicks really want to be that? I would just stick with what they have right now and see what happens in the next couple of years, and maybe they can continue to use these draft picks and build upon that team going forward because they have a nice young core.
I agree. Shout out to my homie Big Fan Breezy in the building. So what do you think about the Knicks and this Donovan Mitchell situation? Because my take and the guys on the panel here's take is: do you risk trading for Mitchell only to be well? Let me put it like this: does trading for Mitchell make the Knicks a top 4 team in the East? And I'll let you go with that.
Well, nah. But first off, shout to you, shout to the whole panel. I'm a fan before I jumped on the panel and actually got a chance to talk. I was actually watching y'all, and this show is fire. So
Appreciate you, bro.
um,
Thank you.
also, can y'all hear me?
Absolutely.
You clear? Go ahead.
I think I've touched a button by mistake or something like that. But if y'all can hear me, I'm good.
Yeah,
All
you
right.
good.
Well, what I wanted to say was, you know, they could learn from us, man. We mortgaged a lot for James Harden, and it seemed like Utah's asking the Knicks to do what Houston and the Brooklyn Nets did. And if they do that, If any team does that, I think they didn't learn from what happened to the Brooklyn Nets. So, if we right across the bridge from them, this is an easy lesson for them to learn. I don't imagine them messing this up. I think they got a good thing going with signing RJ. That was a good look on their behalf. And I think it's RJ's team. You know what I'm saying? I debate with my co-hosts on Fridays. But that's how I look at it. A lot of Knicks fans feel like Julius Randle is the leader of the team. I didn't feel like that, and I feel like that's why they missed the playoffs last season, because they brung in Fournier to build around Randle, and all of the pieces that came to the team was to build around Randle, opposed to building around RJ. And with bringing in Brunson, you take that point forward role away from Randle now, and now you got a true point guard in Brunson, which helps all of their chemistry. So them looking for more than Brunson and the pieces that they got, I think would be like overdoing it. And I think their best bet is keeping the roster they got.
I agree, man. I totally agree. I think, like you said, they're gonna go down the road of the Brooklyn Nets and mortgage their future for this Mitchell because it seems to me like the trade is inevitable. Nimmer, uh, you can join. We are talking Knicks and Nets. I know you're a Knicks fan. The link is up right up top. My last little comment is the link. You can hit the link. You can join if you like. But yeah, I agree, man. I agree with you, bro. I think this is a real iffy situation because if they don't win, then I mean you're in big trouble, because you don't have you're going to mortgage your entire future for this guy, and I don't think it's worth it, but I think ultimately they're going to do it. I don't know, you got two streams. All right, there you go. I took the other one off. You there? But anyway, yeah. So now let's touch on the Nets real quick. Since I got my two net guys up here, man, my go-to man for the Nets. Of course, big fan Breezy and NYG Jeffy T. So now Markieff Morris,
Yeah,
Sorry, Markieff Morris. Obviously a good depth piece to back up KD, Claxton, um, in the front court. He is a little bit older now, I think 33 years old, but still solid. Still solid. He could still hit the outside jump shot. You know, tough as nails, man. The Morris boys, man, they bang. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
what do, what do y'all think about the Markeith Morris signing? I will let you go, Breezy, and then we'll kick it around the coach and then Jeff.
All right. What I will say, do y'all hear me in the like an echo?
Nah, you good. You clear.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
good.
All right. I feel like Morris is necessary for the Brooklyn Nets because we got a young core and with Davon Sean and Nick Claxton and our veterans and Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge, and James Johnson left. So, listening to the interview from Davon Sharp, he had an interview on the podcast called Voice of the Nets, and that's the guy who announces the games for the Brooklyn Nets. And in a nutshell, Davon was talking about how he was learning from veterans, learning defense from Blake Griffin, learning midi from Devon City from LaMarcus Aldridge, some defense from James Johnson, some rebounding, and Davon Sharp ultimately is a sponge in the locker room, especially for a veteran. Morris comes in, helps that immediately. I imagine when KD didn't know whether or not he was going to be a Brooklyn Nets, that ain't go over well with the rookies. So I don't know how they're going to respond to that. I seen Nick Claxton come out and say that I'm an OG. He said, speaking of himself, he said I'm an OG, and if once we, how you say, block out all of the distractions from the outside, from the media, and tap into what we got going on with the team and become a better teammate on and off the floor, we'll be a great basketball team going into next season. This is not verbatim. This is me just trying to remember what he said. But to land the plane, I feel like Morris is I would say a B plus A minus addition. He brings toughness. He brings a mental toughness. He brings rebounding. He brings defense, and he can knock down the three ball. You leave him open. And also, what we needed, a vocal leader. And I'm glad he's on the team. I'm glad he's a Brooklyn Nets. Matter of fact, after this, I'm a tweet him. I'm gonna tweet him and say, I'm glad you're a Brooklyn Nets.
All right, that's what's up, man. Go ahead and you want to say your spill on the Markeith Morris signing? Welcome to the show, Nimmer. Appreciate you joining.
What up,
What's
guys?
up, Nimmer?
What's good,
What's up,
man?
Nimmer?
What up? What up?
We'll let
What
you
up?
go, Jeffy, and then we'll get Nimmer in there.
Well,
So,
first off, I'm sure MYG and Breezy, you're probably both just happy not hearing like about the rumors every single friggin' day about where's KD and where's Kyrie Irving going to be going next. I mean, I'm sure as
Absolutely.
Nets fans, we
That
are
was
sick and
nauseous.
tired of hearing those rumors. But Breezy, I'm glad you made one of the at the end of your what you're talking about with the Nets. That you made one of the best points out there, and that's what Markieff Morris is going to bring this team: vocal leadership. That's the one thing that this Nets team has been missing for a couple of years is
Yeah.
leadership. Kevin Durant is not a leader. He's a guy that's going to go out there. He's going to be a great player on the floor, but he doesn't really show off those leadership skills that you need in the locker room. And that's ditto for a guy like Kyrie Irving. The Nets have lacked that guy that is going to pull that team together, put them over there, and he's going to give it to them when they need it. And he's going to be that leader and try to make sure he gets the most out of these guys. And that's exactly what Markieff Morris is going to do. And like Breezy just said, he's going to bring that toughness. He's going to bring that energy. He's going to bring the defense, the three-point scoring, even some putback baskets. He's the type of player that the Nets have needed for a while. And that's a guy that's going to bang bodies. He's not going to be afraid to get in your face, too, when it's necessary. And that's exactly what the Nets have needed for the past couple of years, is a guy that's going to go out there and be physical. Like a Jared Dudley was a couple of years ago. Remember when he was playing up against
Yo, I was
the
just
Sixers?
about to say that, yo.
That's the type of player the Brooklyn Nets have needed for so long. And that, when I heard we were bringing in a guy like Markieff Morris, I started to have a grin across my face because that's the type of guy that can really be one of those final missing pieces to this Brooklyn Nets team. And just, I know you want to talk about Markieff Morris right now, but I just want to give like a quick overview about the Nets. I think the Nets, now that they put the Durant and the Irving stuff to the side and they know they're both going to be here, the Nets are starting to really fill out this roster pretty nicely. I like the wannabe signing that they brought in, another guy that can provide some three-point shooting as well as a down-low presence as well. I love Royce perfect fitting pieces on this team. What is the Nets? One of the things they've needed for a while, a 3-and-D guy. A guy that consistently hit the three-point shot and also could play that wing defense where the Nets have been getting butchered for the past couple of years. That's what a guy like Royce O'Neal can do when he comes in. You have Joe Harris coming back from an injury after he was hurt the entire year after getting back-to-back ankle surgeries. Boy, did they miss Joe Harris last year because no disrespect to Patty Mills, the guy was gassed because of the amount of minutes he had to play because of the issues going on with Irving and Durant. So it's good to see Joe Harris come back. Seth Curry, another guy. Those guys are going to be able to take advantage of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving driving to the basket, and then you're going to be able to kick the ball out to those guys sitting over there behind the three-point line, and you know they're going to be able to hit the three-point shot for at least 35, 40% or even more. Obviously, Joe Harris won the three-point crown for the past 2 out of 4 years. I think this Nets team right now, with this drama put aside, I think this Nets team is back in the equation of being not only a contender in the Eastern Conference Finals to make it to the finals, but to win a championship because of the depth pieces they're putting around this team. And then the young guys we have developing right now, like a Cam Thomas, if he could just work on that defensive side of his game. This guy, we've seen him go out there and light it up on the offensive side of the court, where he's going up there and put up 20, 25, sometimes 30 points per game when he was playing in there in the beginning of the season. A Deron Sharp, like Breezy was just saying, a young kid that's like a sponge absorbing all these things that he needs to hear from a guy like Markieff Morris. And he's got a guy that has some upside. A David Duke Jr. is like one of those intangible type players who's going to go out there and he's going to give you some of those gritty minutes that you need on this team. Even a Kessler Edwards, another young player, but a 3-and-D guy. I actually really like where this Nets team is going, a lot better than they had last year. And I really think this team is at least a top four team in the East, and I even think they have a pretty good shot to compete for an NBA championship there. Against some of the teams like the Suns over there in the West, or Golden State, or Dallas. I like this Nets team going into the season a lot more than last year, and I feel a lot more confident now with the players they brought in, as well as some of the players they're getting back.
Real quick. Um, is the audio good for everybody?
Yes.
Yup.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yup.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
real quick, I just want to touch on one thing before we get to you, Number. Ben Simmons, perimeter defense.
Yep.
Ben Simmons is going to give you that presence on the defensive end as well, because he can guard wings, whereas to take the pressure off guys like Kyrie and Kevin Durant to do so. You know, so Ben Simmons is going to be one of the key players if the Nets are to you know, get to the championship possibly and win a chip, because like you said, that defense is where the Nets were lacking. Last year, um, they got exposed against the Celtics. So let's see what Ben Simmons has to offer. I'm really interested in seeing how Ben Simmons fits into this team, because the way I see it, if you put him at the four on offense and you put him at the two or whatever wing player you got on the other end of the court to play defense, I think that could be a recipe for success, because you want to allow KD and Kyrie to focus on the offensive end and not get gas guarding some of these stronger more these stronger wing players that can score and take it to the basket. Nimmer, what are your thoughts on the RJ Barrett, Donovan Mitchell situation? Of course, to go over it again, RJ Barrett, 4 years, 120. Um,
Hmm.
and it looks like they're still going to go after Mitchell. Do you think that's a good move? And do you think that puts them in the top half of the Eastern Conference if they
I
make that
think
trade?
I think if we're keeping RJ Barrett, if they're going to keep RJ Barrett, I don't think I was on the Donovan Mitchell train before, but if we're gonna keep RJ Barrett, I don't think Donovan Mitchell is a good move for us. I believe so.
Yeah, I think we all in agreement there. So, Breezy, my man Breezy said he'll be right back.
I have a
Um,
question for you guys, you Nets fans.
Go ahead, Coach.
You were just talking about Ben Simmons and his defensive abilities. Do you think, now that you have Morris, your defense with your starting five between Claxton, even Durant on occasion, as long as he's not the focal point, he's a little help defense. Do you think that helps your defense even more? Does it help your defense as opposed to your defense being a liability, other than with Kyrie?
I think it does. I think I think having Simmons helps this defense tremendously. I think because you got to think what the trade was. The trade was
Mm-hmm.
Harden, who plays no defense, and
Mm-hmm.
for Simmons, who's basically, you know,
He's Nick's
has been a
Claxton with
top.
a handle,
Yeah,
bro.
he's been a top defensive player and one of the
Mm-hmm.
top defensive players in the
People
league.
forget that how good of a defensive player he really is, Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We were ranked 20 last season in defense, bro. We were terrible.
Yeah, we
I know.
couldn't guard anything last year, and
So
we were
does
weak on
that
the front court too.
does that does this does the Mercury, I mean not Mercury Morris,
Markeith?
Markeith Morris, move your team's defensive abilities and efficiency up to maybe top 15, maybe 15 to 10 in the league?
Now I got us 5 through 10, and I mean, maybe that's because I'm a big fan of the team, but I got us 5 to 10 because I feel like Clax and Simmons is essentially the same player, but Ben Simmons got a handle. You know what I mean? But in contrast, I say it because Clax and Ben Simmons could play the paint or the perimeter. And to have two players that could do that, not only that, you got KD, who is now definitely not the primary defender on the defensive side of the ball. Now his usage rate goes down. He doesn't have to overexert himself on both sides of the court. And I think that's what the meeting was about with Nash and KD. I think KD was embarrassed, like, yo, you got me looking bad out here, but I was doing everything up until that playoff series, and I just didn't have enough in the tank. I don't know exactly what was said, but what I will say is, to answer your question, yes, I got the Brooklyn Nets a top 10 defense next season.
And I think a
Well,
guy like Royce O'Neal also helps at that defense a lot too, because that's one of their weaknesses. They couldn't guard the perimeter for anything. How many times did we see during a lot of the Nets games where 3-point shooters were sitting there wide open and there wasn't a Nets defender anywhere near them? A guy like Royce O'Neal is going to be able to cover the ground over there by the 3-point line. He's going to make it difficult for those wing defenders to either drive to the basket or get wide open shots. So I think he was a very underrated addition. It didn't make sense at first because of the Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant trade rumors, but now essentially that we know they're going to be here, I think Royce O'Neal is one of the most underrated pickups the Nets have made this offseason because of the type of skill set that he brings to this team and how much he's really going to help that defense. But I think Claxton is such a key too.
You could talk about not on the defensive end, but on the offensive end, as you pointed out, Jeffy, and you too, Breezy. A guy like T.J. Warren. Can T.J. Warren get back to where he was in Indiana? And if so, that helps your bench tremendously because now you got a guy like him. You got Cam Thomas. You got
Seth Curry.
So
Yeah.
you got some guys that come off the bench now, and that is key because you don't want to gas your three superstars during the regular season. We
Right.
all know how basketball is these days. These guys do take a lot of days off, so you don't want them out there playing, you know, 48 minutes a night. You want to
Right.
have your guys fresh come the stretch, come down the end of the season and not be gassed because we all play basketball. I'm sure when you tired, you play different. So
Yeah.
and that
To, no.
and that's yeah. Go ahead.
No. To add to your point about T.J. Warren and Jeff's point, that is the point. The point is that now KD can rest. He can sit down and not feel like we're gonna lose the lead, and he got to come back and do the same thing he did when he was in the game, and which was probably tie the game or keep it at the pace where it's basket for basket. And that's another thing that the Brooklyn Nets don't have to do because of the additions as well, is go basket for basket. Um, Again, us being a better defensive team helps everything. But to your point, in NYG 22, yeah, TJ Warren could come in when KD on the bench and scoring bunches. He could just score 10 points a game, but those 10 points would be when KD is resting. You know what I'm saying? Cam Thomas, Seth Curry, TJ Warren, these are three players that can create their own shot when KD and Kyrie is getting rest. And that's what we needed. If we rely our offense to run through KD and Kyrie again, we're gonna lose. Period. You know what I'm saying? We have to generate more offense than KD and Kyrie, and I think the Nets front office did that with T.J. Warren, Cam Thomas, Seth Curry, those three off the top of my head, and I just think we're going in the right direction. Since the KD Kyrie era, this is the best Brooklyn Nets team that we had since KD and Kyrie been added to the team outside of the pieces that we traded for James Harden and Karras and Jared Allen.
I agree 100%. I think one of the guys to watch out for, I want to see how Nick Claxton looks this year because he was starting to emerge as one of the better young defensive centers in the league by how he looked in that Boston series. I mean, the guy was a shot blocking machine. He was playing very good defense. I hope he's working a lot this offseason on his foul shooting because I'm sorry, the guy can't be out there because his foul shooting is like a huge detriment to this team. The guy was bricking foul shots left and right. So I hope he's
Right.
working on that. But I mean, the kid definitely has a lot of talent, and it's the reason why the Nets did re-sign him because they believe he's got the ability to emerge as another good young center. Maybe not like what Jared Allen has completely. He's got to fill out a little bit more, get a little more size on his frame. But I mean, the kid is definitely a very solid shot blocker. He's very good when it comes to putback baskets. Obviously, he's even a guy that he's good with the alley oop. So I really want to see how Nick Claxton is going to emerge this year, and I think he could be one of the key pieces for this Nets team on how they're actually going to look going forward into this season.
All right. We're going to transition to the football real quick. I know my man ain't a real big football fan, but just bear with us. We'll round it back and get back into the basketball. But I got football guys up here. We don't want to forget about big news. Obviously, cut down day. So I'm actually going to start with the Jets here because we all Giants fans, but the Jets don't really. This is part of the city, so I'm not gonna leave my Jets fans out. We're gonna get into the Jets. The main point about the Jets, as far as the cuts I seen today, is the fact that they kept um, Denzel Mims. I mean, because Mims has been asking for a trade. He's been trying to get out of there. I've seen people on Twitter talking about trade him for Slayton. That's not going to happen. You guys got to get over it. Slayton's on the team. Shut up. So, but Mims is still on the team. Now I'm gonna go through the Jets 53-man roster real quick. Zach Wilson, Flacco, Mike White. That's the quarterbacks. Zach Wilson, of course, is hurt. Um, it ain't looking good, man. If he can't play, you're gonna have to trot Joe Flacco out there, and he, quite frankly, is just not that good. Um, so it's gonna be interesting to see. I'm thinking they probably go run heavy, which is gonna bode well for me since I got Brees Hall on my fantasy squad. That transitions to the running backs. So you got four running backs: Michael Carter, Brees Hall, Zonovan, Knight, and Ty Johnson. I think that's a solid group right there for the Jets. Carter and Hall should be a good 1-2 punch, and hopefully they stay healthy and give the Jets um, a good production from that spot, man, because they're gonna need it, man, with the quarterback being hurt to start the season. Um, Wide receivers: Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Braxton Berrios, Garrett Wilson, Jeff Smith, Mims. Um, Another good group. I think Elijah Moore is ascending. I think he's coming into his own um, as a number one receiver in this league. You got Corey Davis, also solid, Braxton Berrios, and they drafted Garrett Wilson. Now, the thing here is Denzel Mims. Now,
Mm-hmm.
relating this to the Giants, I'm gonna ask my Giants fans in the panel a question. If you trading for a wide receiver, because they say Slayton's on the block, I still don't believe that, but we'll just go by the reports. And of course, Denzel Mims has actually requested a trade. Are you going to trade for, if your team looking for a wide receiver, who you go get? You go get Slayton or you go get Denzel Mims? Go ahead, coach. You started off.
Um, See, Mims as a second rounder, he hasn't done enough for me. Um, I mean, there's talent there. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the preseason game, he put on a show. So I have to give him his due respects there. So I don't know if that's a matter of coaching. Because coming out of college, he was the rave. for him to slip into the second round and, first round potential
Yeah.
in comparison to Slayton over what Slayton's done for his career so far. Of course, I mean, maybe I'm being biased as a Giants fan. Now if you're going to talk about trading Slayton for Mims, if you could do that straight up and you think you could coach him, okay. But on the flip side, isn't he stacked with receivers in front of him at the Jets? So other than the injuries, if everything is you don't have to worry about injuries, is he going to supplant who's in front of him? It's going to be the same thing, and he's going to be a malcontent. So while the talent is there, I would say no. Slayton would be a better option. He fits in. He knows the culture. He wants to be here. He if he's fourth, fifth on the depth chart, he's not going to cause problems. So he's not going to impact you in that regard because that's also equally as important as to a player's talent. So I mean, I can't deny that he does have talent. So again, how has he been coached up? I mean, I don't know their coaches over there. I don't know who their receiver coach is, so I can't speak to that. But if he were to come over here for some reason, can we coach him up to, be a productive player? And also, he's going to want money. Is this a 1 year rental? Because, I mean, he's going to be behind guys. Yes, Galladay is probably going to be gone next year. So he could slide in. But, there's also other players who I think would be better suited on the waiver wire than him right now trading. Because to get him, you're not only going to have to give up Slayton, you're probably going to have to give up a draft pick or, another player, dare I say that, to get him because of, his position. He's a second round draft pick, all that good stuff. So I wouldn't. I would stick with Slayton.
I agree. Go ahead, Jeff, and then you go after Nimmer.
All right.
Just curious, what's Denzel Mims' contract situation? Is he a free agent after this year, or does he have at least one more year after 2022? Because it might play a little bit of a factor in the decision. I don't think so, but
I'm pulling it up now.
I think he is.
I think he was drafted in 2020.
He was drafted in 2020. So
Second round. So yeah,
he's in the third year of a four. He's in the third year of a 4-year, $5,433,000 rookie contract. So he's only in year 3. So you still got him for next year, and then of course he's going to want because hasn't he asked for a contract extension with the Jets now?
I don't know if he actually has asked for a contract extension at all.
I think he just asked for a trade. Yeah, I think he just wants out of there.
Yeah, he wants out of there.
He's not getting the playing time.
Exactly. So he comes over here. I mean, you got Galladay this year. You got Shepard. You got Tony. You got Robinson right now. And don't forget what's his name who went on IR next year. He's going to be back. Colin Johnson. So for me, like I said, no. I'm sorry, Jeff. Go ahead. It's your shot.
No, it's okay. Actually, if he gets traded over the Giants, he'd probably have less time to do anything because the Giants' wide receiver core is probably deeper than the Jets. I think the Jets are very top-heavy, even though I like their wide receiver core too. But I mean, he's not going to get any playing time over there in either New York team because they're just deep with other guys that either have more upside or they just maybe they're not as disgruntled at him. And I think Slayton's just done more with his career. I know he's played an extra year, but Slayton's actually gone out there and he's done something. He's went out there and had a couple of years where he's had about 700 yards receiving. He's had an 8-touchdown season. He's been a guy that's been a potential number 1 target. Denzel Mims has been so far a second-round pick that's underachieved with the Jets. Hasn't been out there, hasn't played enough. He's been hurt a lot. I mean, there's a reason why the Jets went out there and they drafted an Elijah Moore last year in the second round. There's a reason why they drafted a Garrett Wilson here in the first round because Denzel Mims just wasn't getting the job done. either because he just wasn't a scheme fit for what uh, the offensive coordinator wanted over here with the Jets, or he just he wasn't showing out in terms of having the on-field production, whether it was receiving drops, too many drops, staying healthy, and yeah, I know this has become the biggest talking discussion with the Giants now is the what the hell is what to do with Darius Slayton. I mean, it's like Daniel Jones, except not as bad. We're spinning our wheels on with the whole Darius Slayton situation, but facts are facts. Darius Slayton has done more in his career right now than Denzel Mims has, and I would
I
still
agree.
take a guy like Darius Slayton right now because the on-field production. Yeah, he's a fifth-round pick. Yeah, he's going to be a free agent after this year, but proof's in the pudding, and he's also a guy that is not going out there and demanding a trade. He's
Mm-hmm.
just a guy right now that because of the new system coming in with Brian Dable and Joe Shane, and with the depth right now at wide receiver, even with the injury to Colin Johnson, he just might be a guy that might not get the amount of targets he got in his first few years, or also might not be a guy that could be a complete scheme fit, even though we believe he is. Well, Denzel Mims, he's a mystery. And
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is, he's not going to get the opportunities in either New York team that he was going to get before. So, yeah, I agree with Coach. I would pick Darius Slayton over Denzel Mims just because of the on-field production right now, and also the fact that Darius Slayton's never requested a trade. Denzel Mims has, and it's pretty much the same situation where both teams have depth at that wide receiver position.
Right. Real quick before I get to you, number big shout out to Reels Franklin. That's my brother. That's my real brother. Um, and he brings up a good point here. But will he put his all in this year, knowing he's a free agent next year? A lot of players do that. A lot of players coming up on contract years. I'm not. I think Mims might have an extra year on his contract,
Yeah, he does.
but either way, a lot of players that come into contract seasons, like Darius Slayton, like Saquon Barkley, that we talk about, a lot of players do live up and they do come out and they ball out because they know this is basically their last shot. If you coming into a contract year and you suck, it's gonna be hard for you to get another opportunity, or you not gonna get paid what you want to get paid. So, good point, man. Shout out to my brother, man. Appreciate you joining the show. Um, Go ahead, Nimmer. What's your thoughts on the situation?
I think Darius Slayton, like Jeff and Coach said, I think Darius Slayton will definitely. I think he's much better than Denzel Mims and everything. I don't think Denzel Mims will fit here at all, and he's not going to get any playing time anyway. And I think Darius Slayton understands the system, and I feel like give him a shot. At least give him a shot, so that we can see how he pans out. If he doesn't pan out, we can let go of him. But just at least we're giving Jones and Galladay a shot. Just give him a shot, I think.
And
Right.
I apologize for
Nah, you
interrupting,
good? Open discuss.
but
Open discussion. Talk your talk.
here's the thing too. What exactly is Denzel Mims? Like, what is he? He's a guy that's got a big frame, 6'3", about 200 plus pounds. He is a guy that can make some nice catches over the middle, but he really is a true enigma. Nobody really knows what this kid is because of the fact that he hasn't established himself on the field as the type of player maybe that the Jets are looking for. Like I mentioned before, there would be no Garrett Wilson right now for the Jets if Denzel Mims established himself as that outside wide receiver. They would have not gone out and signed a Corey Davis if Denzel Mims established himself as an outside wide receiver. Hell, even Braxton Berrios, who was a special teams player for the Jets the past couple of years, is probably ahead of a Denzel Mims on the depth chart because
I like
Braxton
Berrios.
Berrios and Berrios is good. He
He's
reminds
not
me of
bad.
a Wayne Corbett type player, very tough over the
Yeah.
middle. He's going to make those catches. He's going to even juke you out on the outside like he did in that game. I know it was missed tackles in that, but Berrios is that quick, twitchy slot wide receiver. So Mims has never really established himself, and we don't know what the hell he is as a wide receiver right now in this league. He's got
So
good measurables. He's got
let me give
size.
you let me run down Denzel Mims production real quick. So 2020 he had 44 targets, 23 receptions, 357 yards, zero TDs. Um, Last year he played in only 3 games. Well, started 3 games, played in 11 games, had 23 targets for 8 receptions, 133
Mm.
yards, and 0 touchdowns. So he has not
Mm-mm.
given you the production at all, despite playing in a total of 20 games in his 2 year NFL career so far. So um, I would definitely not. I've been a big Slayton fan, of course, but I just want to give some clarity on this. Like, let's really look at the two players, since everybody just wants to boot Slayton out the door, and there's fans that want to Jets fans that want to boot Denzel Mims out the door, and I think both players are pretty much stuck where they're at. To be honest with you, and they're gonna have to live with it. They're gonna have to live with it. And so let me get into the Jets roster a little bit more. Real says, but that can be scary. He was drafted for a reason. He hasn't shown it yet. Yeah, he hasn't. Unfortunately, but the Jets do have a. My brother's a Jets fan. The Jets do have a good core. They got Elijah Moore, and Corey Davis, and Braxton Berrios, and I think Garrett Wilson's going to be a pretty good player once he rounds into
I
form.
like Elijah Moore a lot. A lot. I think he's getting ready to emerge as one of those
Yeah,
big
I
time
think he's
secondary
about to break out.
receivers.
He's about to break out. So quickly going over the roster real quick, but we bear with me. We're gonna get into the Giants. I know the Giants talk gonna be heavy, but I'm kind of saving it for last. Tight ends, they got CJ, Uzma,
Uzama.
yeah, Uzama, Tyler Conklin, Jeremy Ruckert,
Lawrence
Lawrence
Cager.
Cager. Um, I like Ruckert. I wanted the Giants to draft Ruckert. I know we
Mm-hmm.
did a lot of mock drafts, and I had Ruckert in a lot of my mock drafts. I think he's
Mm-hmm.
going to be a good player. Um, Definitely. And then CJ Uzama, who they got from Cincy,
Mm-hmm.
he's pretty good. And Tyler
So,
Conklin.
mm-hmm.
I wish
Conklin's underrated.
we had that tight end group right there. I wish was on the Giants.
Yeah.
That tight end group is solid.
Mm-hmm.
They're solid. It's a good group, man. It's a good group for the for the Jets there. O tackle. You got Dwayne Brown, George Fant, Max Mitchell. Of course, big
Mm-hmm.
news is the injury to the big man. Help me out
Kai
here.
Becton.
Becton. Becton. So now I'm guessing George Fant is going to take over.
No, they actually
No, Brown.
No,
Dwayne Brown's gonna be
Brown.
left tackle
Brown
and they
is the
move
left,
Fant to right.
and Fant is the right. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, we'll see. We'll see how that affects them. I think Brown and Fant are decent,
Mm-hmm.
but you spent a high pick on Becton, and he hasn't lived up to expectation at all. Mostly due to injuries. So hopefully, we'll see if the Jets can hold up there at tackle. Got Max Mitchell as a backup. I think he's average at best. Um, inside lineman, Lakin Tomlinson, Elijah Vera Tucker, Connor McGovern, Dan Feeney, and Nate Herbig. Tomlinson and Tucker are solid. Connor McGovern, that's the center. He's
Mm-hmm.
okay. Not I'm not a huge fan of his, but I think overall the Jets got a solid offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I think the offensive line is solid, and that's going to be key given again the injury prone quarterback you got. It seems like the Jets and Giants are all in the same situation. Question marks at quarterback, injuries out the wahoo, and it's just year after year the same thing. Bro says they remind me of the Knicks a few years ago. They need a new front office. That could possibly be true. We'll give what's the
Need new
Jets GM?
ownership.
Yeah, that too. But the GM,
Oh, Douglas, Joe
Douglas, Joe
Douglas.
Douglas, Joe Douglas. We'll see. I mean, Joe Douglas got to pick his coach and Robert Sala. So if Joe Douglas is basically he's tied to Robert Sala right now. So if Robert Sala fails, Joe Douglas is out of there, and the Jets I think will clean house if going into Zach Wilson's second season. If they don't show any type of Um, Progression. I think it may be a wrap for Mr. Douglas out there. But I don't think he's done a bad job. I don't think he's done a horrible job. I just think, much like the Giants, been misfortunate. So okay, Quentin Williams, inside D line, Quentin Williams, John Franklin Myers, Sheldon Rankin, Solomon Thomas, and Nate Shepard. Another solid group. I love Quentin Williams, man. He's a
Mm-hmm.
beast. He's a monster up
He's a
front,
free
man.
agent too, right? NYG.
I believe so. I believe he is coming into a contract year. Um, because wasn't he drafted the same draft as uh
Daniel Jones draft.
Daniel Jones? Yep, yep. So yeah, that's about right. As they got Carl Lawson, of course, he's coming back off the injury, but when healthy, very good player. Jermaine Johnson, who they drafted. I like Jermaine Johnson. Um, I thought the Giants might take a swing on him, but the Jets got him instead, so good for them. Jacob Martin, Bryce Huff, Michael Clemens, and Benny Curry. Um, it's okay, I guess. I mean, if Lawson can get back to where he was, you do have a solid front four in the on the defensive line. So if Lawson can come back and be that number one that they paid him to be, I think they'll be all right on the edge. The Jets usually do have a solid defense, and it looks like the defense got a lot better. So quickly going into the linebackers: C.J. Mosley, Quincy Williams, Kawan Alexander, Jamie Sherwood. Cornerback, of course, they got Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, Michael Carter the second, uh, Bryce Hall, Brandon Eccles, and Justin Hardy. Safety, they got Jordan Whitehead, Lamarcus Joyner, Ashton Davis, Tony Adams. Special teams, they got kicker Greg Zerlon, Brandon Mann, and Thomas Hennessy. So uh, overall, I think I think the Jets, it hinges on Wilson, really. I think their defense is going to be solid. I think they're going to have a solid running game. They got a solid offensive line. Um, it's funny here because I'm reading just a quick sidebar, real quick. They got Michael Carter at running back and Brees Hall at running back, and then they got cornerback. They got Michael Carter the second and
Mm-hmm.
Bryce Hall at cornerback. I almost got them confused. Brees
Mm-hmm.
Hall, Bryce Hall, Michael Carter, and then Michael Carter the second.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So, but solid, man. Solid for the Jets, man. Good for the Jets, man. It looks like they're coming along. It looks like they're improving, and now we get into the New York Football motherfucking Giants. Let's go. Hit that like button, man. Hit that share button. Like, subscribe, please. Appreciate y'all turning turning out. Got my fam in the chat. That's what's up. So we're gonna keep it moving. All right, getting into the Giants now. Of course, we all know the big news here is your boy Darius Slayton making the team. As I've said, as I've been saying the whole time, my first video I made was about Darius Slayton making his team and how the Giants needed Darius Slayton. And not to toot my own horn, but yeah, he's still here and he's going to be here. And he's going to basically bring another dynamic to this offense. Now, I'm gonna go through the offense real quick, and then I'm gonna pass the mic around and let you guys chime in um, on each position. So, quarterback Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor. Of course, the big news here is Davis Webb getting cut. Davis Webb is everyone's preseason hero, but we got to understand that's what Davis Webb is. Remember, Davis Webb was on the Giants before. Um, Davis Webb is basically here to be sort of a mentor to Daniel Jones and to transition into coaching. Davis Webb was never brought here to be a backup quarterback for real, for real. That's what they paid Tyrod Taylor all that money for, you know. So Davis Webb was never going to be a backup. So I don't understand why people are crying about Davis Webb getting cut. And it's not like he can't go to the practice squad. You know what I'm saying? There's not going to be a bunch of teams beating the door down for one Davis Webb, you know, because real NFL teams know, hey, look, it's preseason, man. It's preseason, and these guys that show off in the preseason, they're showing off against guys that are not going to be on NFL rosters. And I've tried to tell fans this, and shout out to everybody on the panel as well as the Big Blue Crew, Big Pat Sports Talk. We've been trying to tell people, look, preseason heroes, preseason warriors, there is what they are, preseason. So I don't want Giants fans to get mad about Davis Webb being cut. Um, what's interesting about the quarterback position, though, before I pass it, Tyrod Taylor, Daniel Jones, two injury-prone quarterbacks. So having Davis Webb on the practice squad might be good insurance for the Giants, given the history of one Tyrod Taylor and Daniel Jones. Um, but go ahead, you can get in there. Go ahead, coach. Coach, get in there. Let coach get in there.
No, you basically hit everything on it. Hit the nail on the head. I mean, as far as the quarterback position, yeah, Webb can go to the practice squad. You can always call him up in case of anything. Smart kid. I mean, he went to Cal, so that says enough right there in terms of the intellect. But in terms of his skill set and his performance, I do understand why most people were upset that he was cut because they feel he outperformed Tyrod Taylor. But hey, the money, you got to follow the money.
Right.
And in the NFL, Tyrod was given that money for a reason. And, he's just getting acclimated. And, we all know that Tyrod has been a starter in this league. Whether you want to say he's a bridge quarterback for some of the other quarterbacks that he's been, but he has performed. So he has talent there. He is smart. The injury issues, okay, I understand. But, anyone can get injured. Anyone. It doesn't matter. You want to talk about Davis Webb? He can go out there and get hurt too. So, you just got to play. You got to play and the next man up in terms of that mentality. But, in terms of the money, it is what it is. Tyrod Taylor is going to be number 2. Davis Webb goes to number 3. So, you're on point right there. As far as the wide receiver, yeah, we've talked about Slayton, especially with all the injuries that, we have at the wide receiver position, guys, who are key players, you can't fully 100% count on them not getting hurt. That's a concern. We're supportive, but you have to be honest with yourself. There is that possibility. Now, I'm not going to sit here and, as I just said about the quarterback, anyone can get hurt. Same thing with the wide receivers, which is why you need Darius Slayton. You may not like it. He knows this market. He's played here. If the fans would get off of his back, you may get him wanting to be here long term. But if you're always kicking a man's back in, who wants to stick around for that? So, but
And
as
let
we
me say
spoke
something
earlier,
real quick
go
about
ahead.
that, coach. So there's a group of fans out there that want to see OBJ come back. Do you think OBJ, first of all, the way OBJ was pushed out the door, pretty much, um, mainly by Gettleman, but there was a definite portion of the fan base that wanted him gone and was happy he was gone, and then shitted on him while he was in Cleveland, and then turned around and basically hop back on as you know what when he won a Super Bowl. Now you want him back over here, given the way you treat guys like Slayton, guys like Barkley, guys like Daniel Jones, you think OBJ trying to come back to this?
Of course
Nope.
not. I mean, I don't
No.
believe he's trying to come here. Um,
Yeah,
do
I
I
don't
think
either.
as a businessman, because he is a businessman, if the money was there, would he come? Of course. He knows the market. He does. He has, to be honest with you, he actually has the mindset for this market. He don't give two craps about what the fan base really thinks. He doesn't. He's gonna go out there and he's gonna do him. And as a coach, that's all I can ask for my players. Except don't be a total ass and a total distraction. Acting like you're a dog pissing on people, that type of things. But in terms of performance, and we know fans, we're fickle. I mean, yeah, one moment we hate you, next moment you go out there and perform, we're all on you. So, and that goes for any player. So, but would OBJ come back? I mean, would most fans, if he was healthy and performing like he was in the Super Bowl, be kissing his backside? Yeah, yeah. And if he's out there producing and not marrying the kicking net, you know, yeah. I mean, and that's really what it boiled down to. When he had that fight with Josh Norman, I know a good percentage of the fan base that loved it because they hated Josh Norman. They loved that OBJ stood up and went toe to toe with the man and wasn't going to back down. And that's what I mean by he has the mindset and the mentality for this market. Not everybody does, and do we as fans need to back off? You've heard me say it before. Fans need to back off and just let guys be players, and you want to boo and you want to voice your opinion, yes, there's a level to go to, but the maliciousness that a lot of fans go to, and wishing people dead and all of that BS. No, that to me that's going over the edge. That's not being a fan. Being a fan is supporting your team, and when your team is out there, you're rooting them on and you're booing the other team and you're making it tough for them. You're in a sense being a 12th man. But
Hmm.
do I think he would come back here right now? No, no. But if the money was on the table, come on, let's be real. It's a business.
True that, man. True that. So let's get into the running backs real quick, and then I'm gonna let you go, Nimmer. Um,
Ernie.
appreciate you guys, man. Appreciate y'all for showing up, man. It really does mean a lot to me, man. The support, man, because I do try to put in the effort, man, to give you guys the best content. I'm still young to this YouTube thing. I'm still learning, but I definitely appreciate the support, man, of you guys and everybody in the Big Blue crew. You know how
No
we rock.
problem, man.
Mm-hmm.
No
We're
Definitely.
problem.
here to support our brother right over here and help you out. I see you grow.
Appreciate y'all, man. So let's get into this running back situation here. You got five. Now, interesting thing here is they list Chris Myrick as a fullback. Um, of course, we all know him as a tight end, but right here they got him as a fullback because remember they had Hall go down with an injury. He was going to be the fullback. So five running back slash fullbacks. You got Barkley, Breeder, Gary Brightwell, Antonio Williams, Chris Myrick. Of course, Barkley, nothing to say about him. Breeder's interesting because, um, and I know you thought he might get cut, Jeffy. I thought it was a possibility as well, given the fact that we hadn't seen him at all pretty much the whole training camp, just in that last preseason game. So Breeder does make it. I do like his skill set. He's a speed guy. Gary Brightwell. Gary Brightwell runs hard, man. I don't know. I don't know what Joe Judge and them were thinking having this guy on the bench last season. He's a good player, man. He's not a bad player. He runs hard and he definitely gives you the most um, as far as versatility with the ability to play special teams. Very good special teams player. Antonio Williams. I was one of the ones that had Antonio Williams making his roster. given his connection to Dable, Buffalo. You remember, this was the first guy they signed when they took over. This was their first signing. You don't think that meant something? Um, and pretty much the guy offers basically a change of pace from Barkley and Breeder because he's more of a north south, you know, um, in between the tackles type runner. I like his running style. He runs hard. Kind of reminds me of what's the guy we had a couple years ago, Wayne Gallman. Um, the way he runs Antonio
Mm-hmm.
Williams. So I do like that group from the running back standpoint. We'll get into the wide. I'm gonna talk about the wide receivers real quick here, and then we can pass the discussion around because I know that's the big focal point right now as far as the cuts are concerned. So they kept seven: Sterling Shepard, Kenny Galladay, Darius Slayton, Kadarius Toney, Wandell Robinson, Richie James, and everyone's favorite receiver, David Sills, finally made the roster. And shout out to David Sills. I'm not a David Sills hater, nor a Alex Bachman hater. I just would not put guys like that over a guy like Darius Slayton, a proven NFL receiver. But shout out to Sills, man. He has a connection with Jones. He's been here. He's put the work in. He pretty much earned his roster spot. So got no problem with that. Richie James, of course, he's there for special teams primarily, and uh, who else we got? Tony. You know, Tony's hurt, so we'll see if he plays game one. I don't know. It's still questionable. Um, and you got Shepard. Don't know. He's still questionable. And then there's Galladay. So what do you do with Galladay? I mean, he's the big nail in your side pretty much because he just isn't giving you a lot, and there's no real evidence that he's gonna give you anything because this his attitude, the way he looks. And some players are like that, I will say, but I just seeing him last year and then seeing this again this year with a new coaching staff, this lazy kind of ho hum attitude, I don't like it. I don't like it from a receiver that's get paid $72 million. So tell me what you think. Go ahead, Nimmer. I'm gonna let you talk. You've been sitting there for a minute.
So the Galladay thing, also I agree with you. I don't think because he's not been producing that much. There was actually a rumor out on Twitter that Fox Sports put out that they wanted to get out of
Shout out
Galladay's.
to Wells. Not to cut you off. Shout out to Wells. Appreciate you joining the show. Go ahead.
Well,
How you
There
doing,
was a
Wills?
yo, what's up, Wales? There is a report out on Twitter that they didn't want to keep Galladay and they wanted to cut him, but Gettleman put us in such a um, cap situation with Galladay, so they couldn't do anything. I don't think Galladay fits. Not David Sills, David Webb's cut, I think was going to come. That was not a surprise to me at all. And I think Tyrod Taylor and Daniel Jones will be probably a good core. And then on the running back side, I was a little bit surprised by Corbin getting cut. That's the only
Mm,
one.
yeah, that surprised a lot of people. I thought I thought Corbin had a shot, but I ultimately think the Giants are going to try to sneak him onto the practice squad. I think that's their whole strategy. They want to keep him. Exposing him to waivers is risky, but given the plethora of running backs in the NFL, I think he may slide through. So go ahead, Jeff. What you got on
Well, first off, I know we've all been paying attention to Twitter today. Like the way everybody in the Giants fans are going crazy. It's like we cut Jerry Rice in his prime with
it?
the way Alex
Bachman, yeah.
Bachman was loved by this fan base for being like you guys said, the preseason warrior. I mean, everybody's going nuts. We just cut Alex Bachman. I can't believe we cut Alex
Yo,
Bachman. Why we cut Alex Bachman? Yeah,
Pat
Alex
had me
Bachman.
rolling with the Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
Oh,
Alex Bachman, the career dude that has had 2 games in the NFL and has a career of 0
right.
catches. I mean, it's just funny
Oh
sometimes
my
when you
God.
see fans going nuts about preseason guys. How many guys have we heard like this before? Everybody remembers Corey Washington. Corey
Yeah,
Washington, everybody loved him a few years ago when he was
yeah.
performing well in the preseason. I'm not the biggest. I'm not the biggest Darius Slayton fan in the world. I don't love Darius Slayton, but I will give the guy props because he's actually had a pretty good career for a fifth-round pick. And I know it's still not a 100% lock. They still could possibly move him in some type of move, either tomorrow, the day after, whenever it is. But Darius Slayton still has a role with this offense because his speed on the outside. There's no other receiver on this team that has the type of speed that Darius Slayton has to give you those 20 to 40 plus catches. Darius Slayton, he doesn't drop the ball a whole lot. I mean, everybody always talks about the drops, the drops, the drops, the drops. Darius Slayton didn't lead the team last year in drops. It was Saquon Barkley, who we all love, but Saquon Barkley led the team in drops, and he played less games than Darius Slayton did. Sterling Shepard, who played even less than Barkley, he was second on the team in drops. So I mean, everybody keeps getting on the drop stuff with Darius Slayton. The fact of the matter is too, every time Daniel Jones is looking for those big time plays, and NYG, I'll give you credit for this because you've been harping this the entire time. Every time Daniel Jones is looking for those big plays down the field, who is always the guy that he's going to? Number 86, Darius Slayton, who sometimes you can't even believe he's breaking open down the field and nobody's even near him. He's always wide open. So,
I'm gonna tell you something real quick, not to cut you off, but I just want to make a real quick point before I lose my train of thought. I watched Daniel Jones' interview, his press conference today after the practice. Daniel Jones, he said, because they asked him about kind of like Kenny Galladay, like do you make an adjustment basically because Kenny Galladay is a bigger guy? And what Daniel Jones said, I'm paraphrasing here, but pretty much Jones said, like, he was like, yeah, it's kind of like when you got a speed guy and you throw it up because you know he's going to outrun the defender. And that kind of made me think like, oh, he's talking about Slayton because that's what they do. Daniel Jones throws that rock up, Slayton runs under it, catches it, boom, touchdown. Now, Slayton has had drops, I agree, but shout out to Big Pat Sports. They haven't been egregious. It's not Evan Ingram type drops where they're costing you playoff first. You know what I'm saying? He had one drop against Washington. It did not cost him the game. That's the launch's offside penalty cost him the game. So I fans that say that is just stop it. That didn't cost you the game. You still have opportunity to win. Yeah, it was not a good drop. I don't think the pass was perfect either. It was Darius Slayton probably should have and could have stretched out for that ball a little bit, and maybe he catches it. But nevertheless, hindsight 2020. But I just thought it was interesting that go back and watch Daniel Jones' press conference today. He said, yeah, it's kind of like because he was talking about Galladay. Basically, I think the reporter asked him like, do you have to adjust when you throw the ball, given a guy's size or whatever, and he's like, yeah, it's kind of like when you have to throw it up to a speed guy. There's no other speed guy on this team, y'all. Who's the speed guy? It's not Tony Robinson, Shepard. They got speed, but not Darius Slayton speed. So fans gotta realize what they're doing when they want to kick a guy like this out the door, man. It's gonna change your offense, man. But go ahead, Jeff. You can finish.
Well, I mean, I've been focusing on the wide receiver position a lot. It's been probably the position that, in terms of the Giants, I've been studying the most out of every position on this team because of the fact that there is talent there, but at this point, what the hell is it? I mean, we're all asking our question right now. What the hell is this wide receiver core? Kadarius Toney's got upside. We've seen it in spurts, but it's not been consistent because he's not been on the field enough to really see what this kid can do on a regular basis.
Shout out. Blue City Empire. Appreciate you joining the show, man. Thanks for your support. Go ahead, Jeff.
What's up, Blue City?
What's up?
I'm gonna keep calling Kenny Galladay right now. Kenny going all day until he starts going out there and he can prove he's not gone every single day that he's out there on the
Doesn't show
field
up.
because this dude has not showed up. And I hope that maybe this is just some type of mirage and he was just getting himself ready for the season. He's just gonna like come out and explode and have a big game. I'm not expecting it. I mean, I sound like the crazy one over here because I'm predicting he's going to have 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards in the first game against Tennessee. What the hell am I thinking? I'm just like thinking I must be like, praying that that's going to happen. We'd be lucky if he gets that over 2 or 3 games in that period. But Kenny Galladay's got to go out there and he's got to show something with this team. We paid him $72 million. He's that number one receiver. He's supposed to be that number one receiver. Go out there and just show us something. Please, just like go out there and show us something and give us a reason to get behind you so we get off your back and be like, this is the guy that could potentially be Daniel Jones's number one target going forward. Like you are with Darius Slayton, NYG, and obviously like a guy like Cop Hizzle. You guys are probably the 2 biggest Darius Slayton fans I've seen out there. That's how I am with Sterling Shepard. I love Sterling Shepard. There's not a lot of players that I've rooted for on the New York Giants for a while than Sterling Shepard because I just love what this kid, this guy just brings to the team in every single aspect. And it just hurts me. It hurts me the fact that this guy has gotten hurt so much because he's the heart and soul of this offense. He might not have been named the captain today, but let's be honest, he's a captain on this team. That team, and you heard what Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley and these players think of Shep, that guy is the heart and soul of that offense and maybe of this team when he's out in that field. That's how important he is to this team. I want to see that guy be able to go out there and just be able to stay on the field consistently because we all know what the guy can do. He's the best blocking receiver on the team. Last year, he was probably the best receiver on the team because Daniel Jones, every single time, best route runner on the team. He could teach a guy like Tony and Robinson how to become a better route runner. He always got open over the middle with those quick, twitchy routes. I want to see Shep be able – because people are writing him off as much as they're writing off Slayton. So everybody's talking about Slayton right now and the fact that like either he should be kicked off the team or he should get another shot. I'm talking about Shep because Shep gets disrespected way too much by this fan base, and we understand he gets hurt. But I think Shep deserves respect for like everything he puts out there on this team. So I hope he can, get himself together and have a good season because I still believe in him. Richie James, I think I like what I've seen for Richie James. I think he's a guy that is a perfect person to put back there in the special teams role. He's a guy that's going to obviously be the backup slot / outside receiver. He's also a guy that can go deep too. So I think he's probably the second fastest receiver on this team behind Slayton. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe send him on some go routes too. But Richie James is going to be valuable in the special teams because he's something that C.J. Board and none of the other guys we really had, Farrell Cooper. He's a guy that can break tackles and make something happen on that special team.
He has NFL experience, yeah.
Exactly.
Richie James has NFL experience. So I was always on point with Richie James making this roster. But not Bachman and C.J. Board and David Sills or over Slayton. I'm glad Sills made it, but I wouldn't have picked him over Slayton, not at all.
No, I agree with you, and I'm glad to see Richie James get an opportunity right now. In terms of Wan'Dale Robinson flashed a lot during the beginning of camp. He was actually showing some of those, he was like a quick, twitchy guy, get in and out of his routes. Not like, he still needs to refine himself as a route runner, but he could go deep occasionally. He's that jack of all trades wide receiver, but it's clear as day. I mean, he is still struggling with separation in terms of some of the games he's been playing in, and he still needs to learn the NFL game. So in a way, I mean, hopefully Tony is going to be ready. I mean, we hope Tony's going to be ready. I mean, whatever's wrong with him. And glad that Shep's back right now because it's going to give the opportunity for a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson to be able to develop a little slowly and not be thrown out there immediately. He's going to be able to come along slowly, which you kind of want with a second-round pick during their first year. You want to have some of the veterans be out there first, do what they have to do, and then if you have a second-round pick, third-round pick wide receiver, you want them to come in slowly, get some reps during the season, start gradually increasing them throughout the season. And then, if he starts showing something, you maybe put him out there in some starters minutes. But Wan'Dale Robinson is that perfect type of gadget player that we need right now to try some of those double reverses, some of those quick passes. Maybe if we do the direct snaps, or even a wildcat, that's exactly what a Wandell Robinson would be used for. So he's one of the wild cards in that offense. And I mean, David Sills, I have to give the kid credit. I mean, he's got a great connection with Daniel Jones. He's actually made some nice plays in preseason. He's been a guy that showed out pretty well in training camp the past couple of years. But let's be honest, David Sills he's got a lot to prove in terms of being a guy to go out there in the regular season.
David
As much as we
David
dog,
Sills is basically what the Giants want from Kenny Galladay.
exactly, and that's
They want that
actually where I was.
chemistry with
Okay.
Jones and his big frame. You know what I'm saying? Pause. But David Sills is what they want from Kenny Galladay because Kenny Galladay and David Sills basically have the same skill set. Big body guys, good on the crossing routes, slant routes. They don't get a lot of separation though, and basically don't have a whole lot of speed. So, um, but contested catch guys. That's what they want from Galladay, but they just haven't got it, man. And I don't know if they're gonna get it. I don't know if they're gonna get it.
NYG. And guys, I'm curious. I really wonder if that hip injury that Galladay suffered a couple of years ago, where he pretty much sat out the entire year, if that hip injury, maybe it's not severe enough where it's like completely just like not enabling him to play, but we really wonder if that hip injury he suffered a couple of years ago zapped some of his explosiveness that he had in Detroit. Because this Kenny Galladay a couple of years ago wasn't this bad. I mean, he's never a separation guy, but it just looks like right now that he's just like he's done. And I don't know if it might just be it's just mental with him. It might just be effort. But I really wonder if that hip injury that he had a couple of years ago, and we know a hip injury takes a lot out of especially a wide receiver with his size and the hits he was taking over the years, if that hip injury has really slowed him down to the point where he just doesn't have that explosiveness and some of his breaks that he had like he used to have in Detroit. And maybe the New York Giants were at a point and Dave Gettleman was at a point where they probably knew about the hip injury, but they were taking a chance on Galladay maybe being able to recover from it and not have any type of setbacks from it. And he just figured Gettleman's just going to go out to try to save his job and do everything he can to give Daniel Jones that number one target. So they really didn't go too in depth in terms of like really figuring out what's going on with Galladay. So I'm really thinking and like going under investigation about if this maybe it's a lot deeper with Galladay and that hip injury he suffered a couple of years ago has really taken out some from his overall game. And maybe
And
he's
it's
just
just
not
like
the same receiver anymore like he was.
and it's just like they signed Kyle Rudolph, and they knew Kyle Rudolph had an injury. You know, so that's a good transition to the tight end position. Shout out Blue City Empire Sports. Should the Giants get OJ Howard? Now let's look at the tight end spot real quick. So obviously Daniel Bellinger, Tanner Hudson, and they got Myrick, but they listed him as a fullback. But we all know he can play tight end as well. This tight end group, and I like Bellinger. And shout out to Nimmer, man. Nimmer's been all over the tight end position, man. I'm gonna let you go ahead right after I say my spiel real quick. But I like Bellinger. I do not think he's quite ready to be an everyday starting NFL tight end. I think they need a veteran presence, not only to teach Bellinger, but also to give him some type of cushion to where he's not put in pressure situations in his first year, his first couple games, like right off the gate. We talk about how quarterbacks get thrown to the fire and it may not be a good thing too. It's the same thing with tight ends. It's the same thing with receivers and a lot of these other players. You're talking about rookies. Y'all were just talking about Wandell Robinson. Wandell Robinson is a rookie. He isn't quite ready to go out there and give you that type of production that you're looking for a starting NFL receiver. Same thing with Bellinger. So I would definitely like them to see them bring in a guy like OJ Howard or maybe Eric Ebron, somebody like that, a proven commodity, just to allow Bellinger to develop and not have that because we've been saying about Slayton and a lot of these other players. This is New York. Do you think as soon as Bellinger goes out there, the first pass he drops or the first block he missed, oh, it's Evan Ingram again. Oh, the Giants drafted Evan. They're gonna go nuts, man. And I hate
It
that
already
for
happened in
players.
preseason.
Right,
They
and
made that drop.
I hate that for players, and that's why I'm starting to realize if you're a rookie on the New York Giants or Jets or any other New York team, you might want to have somebody in front of you to give you a buffer so you don't get thrown into the fire right away. Because unless you're a superstar, you're gonna get chewed up by this media, and we all know a lot of people can't handle this media. That being said, Bellinger, I'm cool with. Tanner Hudson, I would have liked Austin Allen over him. Let's see if Austin Allen makes it to the practice squad, but the Giants are definitely going to have to upgrade this position. Um, what do you think, Nimmer? I know you've been all over this tight end position from the start.
I think Daniel Bellinger was a good. I liked him making the roster, and like the guy from the Bucks, I'm also with you. I don't think he fits that well. I was on I was on a live. I was on a not like I was commenting on a live stream with some Bills fans. They're saying OJ Howard did not have a good like preseason, so I don't know if he would be a good fit or not.
Yeah, I don't know about the preseason, but what I do know is the Bills guaranteed him like 3 point something $1 million, and for them to want to eat that money just to get rid of him is a bit alarming. Um, I don't know what's going on with Eric Ebron, but that's the guy I would probably prefer if they could get him, and I think he'll probably be cheaper. But what's your thoughts on this tight end position, Coach?
Um, it's a work in progress. Um,
Yeah,
it still leaves something to desire, of course. Definitely go out there, kick the tires on every available tight end that's out there. I'm just scouring right now the the cut listing, and just taking a look at guys trying to see what they're about, what they have. Oh wow, Ryan Enzo got cut. I didn't know that. All right. Um, Again,
they
just to
cut.
see what these guys are about. Ryan Izzo is a Jersey guy who just got cut, but he plays tight end.
Oh, yeah, I heard of him.
Yeah.
Ryan Izzo. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's why, like I said, I was just scrolling through and I was taking a look, seeing who was out there, and just trying to get a picture. And it's a matter of what are we looking for? Are we just looking for a veteran to guide and help, these guys grow in the position, or are we looking for guys to go out there and produce? Like you just said, have them go out and start while the other guys sit behind them and develop. So, and then in the scheme, do they fit the scheme? Because what are we looking for in a tight end? Not just blocking, but we need them to, the attack the seams. If you want to, flex them out a little bit, and then, you know, sometimes on occasion go outside just to see what the defense is doing, or create a mismatch, and be productive. So again, it's to me, it's you definitely have to go out there and you have to kick the tires on every available tight end and do your research and see, do they fit the scheme, and what are they capable of doing for the organization. So, and just for the record, all rise number 51. He hit number
Let's
51 today.
Yeah.
go. Let's go.
The Yankees would be nuts. I mean, they would be absolutely beyond nuts if they do not sign him to an extension after this offseason. The way he is doing. I pay him though, Coach.
I'm not saying that.
It's going to be bad if he leaves.
Somebody's gonna pay him.
Can
Somebody's
you
gonna pay
imagine
him.
if he
He's
walks
gonna
to
be
City
paid.
Field? If Stevie Cohen has the opportunity, I know we're going off in the baseball now, but if you
I'm
imagine
sorry.
if Stevie Cohen goes over there and he pays the money for an Aaron Judge to walk over and play for the Mets, how bad it's going to look on Hal Steinbrenner and that team, because Judge
Oh
is just,
no, it's going to be
wow.
on what you call it. He's going to lose his job.
Yeah, it's
So I think he would lose his job if he doesn't, sign
Nah,
him.
I think, yeah, I think they gotta sign
Yeah,
Judge,
we all
man.
know that. Now it's
Yep.
just going to cost more money. That's really what it boils down to.
yeah. And
And
I
Jeff,
The
one of our
richest
boys got
franchise in
cut.
baseball,
wait, who
they
got
got the
cut?
money.
Bo Melton.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Oh man, I like Bo Melton. If the
Hmm.
Giants could find a way to get him on the
You ain't
practice
gonna cut
squad,
him.
I would do it
You
because
can't
I like Bo Melton.
if you sign him, he has to go to the active roster,
Oh,
right?
that's
Agree.
right.
Yeah,
Crap.
Yep.
And I
because
like
it's
Bo
active.
Melton a lot too. I
Yeah.
was hoping we could draft him. Oh man.
I mean,
I'm
I'll
mo-
double check. I'll double check, but I'm almost sure that I don't know if yeah if you
I think you're
yeah
right, Coach. Yeah.
yeah if you sign him or if he's a I know if he's a complete free agent, no, you can sign him to the practice squad. I think if you pick up his waiver wire, that's what it is. I'm sorry, I think I mixed that up. But I'll double check. I'll check that again. But getting back to the tight ends, yeah, we gotta kick the tire, especially when you know you have two and a half tight ends. Let's just say that because Myrick is he's really an H back. However you want to categorize it, fullback, H back, tight end. Play in line, off the ball. So so but
It's like a Bear
again,
Pascal.
who?
Like remember Bear
Oh
Pascal
yeah,
during the
yeah.
second Super Bowl? He's sort of
Yeah,
like what Bear
Yeah.
Pascal was.
yeah. He was a
That's exactly.
fullback, but yeah, he played tight end too. Yeah,
And as far
you're
as
right.
OJ Howard, I feel the
Different player.
same way. If he has all that money, why? I mean, he's almost in the same culture, the same environment. So I know Shane is going to do his due diligence and make the call to find out what the hell is going on. And if it's really worth it. Yeah, you still kick the tire, but you do your full research. But you know, uh, I mean, he also couldn't stick around in with Tom Brady now. Come on, so it's to me, I look at all that. I look at all that. You had, the elite. And I understand you had Gronk and a couple other tight ends, but if you're that talented and you're that gifted, I mean, why is it that they're getting rid of you, and why is Buffalo signing you to this money, and now they're kicking you out the door right fast and furiously? So
Yep.
it that's a red flag to me. So
And you have to think about it too. Everybody forgets OJ Howard was in that same draft as Evan Ingram.
hmm
OJ Howard was the first tight end draft picked in that draft when we picked Evan Ingram when the Bucks picked him. And we always say that Ingram was a bust. What does that make OJ Howard? Because at least Ingram is on the 53-man roster for Jacksonville. OJ Howard couldn't even make it out of training camp with the Buffalo Bills. Both of them pretty much on a lower base 1 year deal. So
Yep.
what does that
Wasn't
really say about
Njoku?
OJ
Wasn't
Howard?
David Njoku in that draft as well?
He was, and he got an extension from Cleveland. He's been the best one, I believe, at that
That's
tight end
fine.
class.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
in terms of the tight end group for the Giants, I'm a little bit surprised that Austin Allen got cut. I actually thought he might get cut in the beginning because I figured they would keep the three tight ends. 'Cause I believe they like Myrick because he's like that Bear Pasco type hybrid tight end fullback. He's very good at blocking. He can occasionally go out for some like those underneath passes, so I actually don't mind Myrick. Obviously, Bellinger is the key player for this position, and I think he's just going to need a little bit more time to develop. I think they really liked out of the undrafted guys and the tight ends, the young tight ends. I think they really liked Andre Miller. I think if Andre Miller did not get hurt,
Yeah.
that would have been the guy that they would have picked as that third tight end because they really liked what he was bringing to the table as that flex tight end that could take it, go down the seam. That's the type of tight end they were looking for. They were hoping Jordan Akins would be when they signed him. Obviously, he flopped. And Andre Miller was really showing them something. So when he got hurt, it really put a damper on what they were looking for. And I think it would have made Austin Allen, in a way, expendable, even though I like Austin Allen. And I hope that we're going to be able to sneak him on the practice squad. Might be difficult because, I mean, there's not a lot of tight ends that are 6'8", with his size that can, go out and be pretty a pretty decent pass catcher as well as be a good blocker. So a team might scoop him up before we have the chance to put him on our practice squad. But I definitely believe this team, and I believe from the beginning, even when people were, everybody was saying we're good with the tight ends we have, Daniel Bellinger, Myrick, Austin. I was always in the belief that we still needed some type of veteran presence in the tight end room because
Yeah,
it's a lot to count on a second-year player like Myrick who doesn't have a lot of experience out there on the field. I mean, the guy pretty much came in there and only played a little bit during last year, and then you're asking two rookies to go out there and pretty much not make any mistakes when it comes to being receiving tight ends and blocking tight ends. And we know rookies are going to be making mistakes over the course of the season. So I thought a veteran tight end was essential, especially for those outside, to help on the offensive line with blocking and occasionally be that safety valve over the middle besides your slot receiver. So and I believe Eric Ebron, I forgot who is it that put in the private chat with us. I think it was Taj. That like Eric
Mm-hmm.
Ebron even pretty much put himself out there that like maybe wants his
Mm-hmm.
agent to give the New
Give
York
us a
Giants a
call.
call, maybe see if like they
Uh-huh.
want Eric Ebron's services. But
yeah.
it does make me think: why is Eric Ebron still on the free agent market? And we're about 2 weeks away from the beginning of the season. Are some teams thinking about like maybe Eric Ebron is not the type of player he was maybe towards the beginning of his career, like those last couple of years he was in Detroit. So there's got to be something to it, but I do hope the New York Giants do bring in a veteran tight end right now, just to like maybe give Daniel Jones that security blanket over the middle because I know Daniel Bellinger could develop into that guy, but I think it might be easier like with Wandell at the wide receiver position, maybe ease Daniel Bellinger's snaps in there gradually and not just throw him out there immediately. And then, God forbid, like you said, MYG, if he makes a mistake out there, everybody's going to be screaming on Twitter or on the media and be like, well, this is the next Evan Ingram we got here. Look, he's tipping up the ball. He can't catch like he did in that preseason game where he caused that one interception Daniel Jones had on the one errant throw. So I do think that the tight end position is probably the second position on this team that definitely needs some type of veteran presence and some adjustments besides the cornerback position, which we'll get to a little bit later, I'm guessing. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do definitely see them making some type of veteran splash tomorrow in the waiver wire. Who knows? Maybe they go out there and make a trade when we don't expect it and get a veteran tight end. But I definitely believe by the end of tomorrow, we're going to have a veteran tight end here on this roster.
Yep.
Real quick, before we move up the tight end, so I'm just looking at, and I like to look at little stats too. I'm not a big stat guy, but so targets, and I'm just looking at Evan Ingram here. I know people don't like Evan Ingram, but he was one of Daniel Jones's favorite targets. Look at the targets from Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in the 3 seasons Jones was a quarterback going back to 2019, 68 targets, 109 targets, and 73 targets. So Jones does like to go. Um, he does like to have a tight end now. Unfortunately, his tight end couldn't catch, but and fumbled and all kind of other goofy stuff. But if he can get a guy that's reliable in the middle of the field, um, like Bellinger or whoever else they may bring in, I think that's also going to help the quarterback. Basically, you know, it's safety valve, what they call it, safety valve. From the quarterback position with the tight end. So be on the lookout for that. Also, they got Tanner Hudson. He does have some NFL experience, although it's limited. Now let's get into the O line real quick. So Andrew Thomas, obviously. We got Shane Lemieux. We got John Feliciano, Mark Lewinsky, Evan Neal. Those are your starters. And then the backups, you got Ben Hudson, Josh Azulu, Max Garcia, and Devery Hamilton. So that's 9 offensive linemen. Um, I'm I'm bullish on this offensive line this year. I'm bullish on this offensive line this year. Um, only because Thomas, Neal, Glowinski, Lemieux, Feliciano, I'm not big on at all. But those four that I just named, along with Azudu, who will probably at some point take over the left guard position, I believe. Especially if Shane Lemieux can get on the field. They're all excellent at run blocking, and you are going to see a different team from a run blocking standpoint um, from this New York Giants team. Now, interestingly, they still don't have. I don't believe they have a swing tackle. Matt Pert is injured. Um, they let Will Holden go, and also they what's the other
Eric
guy's name?
Smith.
Smith. He's gone too, and Batika, the guy from Nigeria. So those are your tackles. So they don't really have a true tackle. I know they've been trying Azudu at tackle. Um, maybe you can slide Hamilton over.
Nope.
That's dicey, but um, that's a little worrisome. The backup tackle position. So I would think they would look to upgrade that. But your starting five, if healthy, is going to be solid. I'm telling you. I'm telling you right now. Unpopular opinion sports. Hit that like button. I'm giving you the hottest takes out here on in this community. Top 10 offensive line by the end of the season. Book it. I'm telling you. This is a different team on the offensive line. I broke this down with my own eyes. Me, coach, Pat, we broke it down on tape. I broke it down on tape by myself. This offensive line is going to be great. Give them time though. Don't come out here, Giants fans, and the first block not Evan Neal misses and talking about he's a bust. Give this dude some time. Remember what happened to Andrew Thomas his first season. He was not good, but as towards the end of the season, he started to get better. And I think that's what you're going to see from Neil. He may struggle in the beginning, but what he won't struggle at is moving guys off that line when it comes to run blocking. Dude's a monster, as strong as an ox. So I'm telling you, this offensive line is going to be good. The depth, I'm a little worrisome about it. Not so much on the interior, because I think Zulu, Garcia, Hamilton, I think those type of guys, I think they can hold up if thrusted into the starting lineup. I really think they do. They can. You see the offensive line stats that they put out for the preseason. So that's including your starters and backups. I think they only allow like one or two sacks or something. It was like some ridiculous number. I had to pull it up, but this offensive line is going to be good. Pump the brakes, Giants fans. Relax. They're going to get depth. We'll see about Shane Lemieux. I'm hoping Lemieux comes back because he does take this offensive line to another level as far as run blocking. But you could slide Azudu or Bredesen or Hamilton in that spot, and I think they'll do just fine. So, what do you guys' take on the O line here? Go
I
ahead.
mean,
Whoever want to talk about that.
I like the offensive line, and I mean, I think the one reason why we have a lot of confidence that we've had previously in the offensive line is mainly those offensive tackles. Because when was the last time, as Giants fans, we could have a lot of confidence that we have not one but two offensive tackles that when they're on the field, we know that our quarterback is going to be safe in that pocket and not have to worry about somebody coming consistently from the outside, making it pretty much having our quarterback on the run every single play. I probably not even since that the Super Bowl teams that we had, and even then, David Deal was a guy that was pretty much an interior offensive lineman by trade, even though he did play tackle a lot of time. But I think he was better suited as an offensive guard. I have the utmost confidence that Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal are going to be the real deal. Andrew Thomas has already
Yep.
proven that, and I've been so bullish on Andrew Thomas, saying that this guy I think is going to be a top 5, maybe even top 3 left tackle in this league. There's a reason why they voted him captain. He's soft spoken by the way he talks, but this guy has every single thing that you want in a left tackle: attitude, toughness, grit, good hand placement, good footwork. This is the type of guy that you build your offensive line around. And a lot of people were saying that we missed the boat when we didn't take a Jedrick Wills or a Mekhi Becton or a Worse. We were like, why did you take Andrew
we
Thomas? He's
we
got the
didn't miss the
lowest
boat. We
ceiling.
dodged the bullet. That's what we did.
Exactly.
Yeah, we got the
We
bullet.
took the guy with the lowest ceiling. Well, guess what? He also had the highest floor, and right now the dude is just going out there and he's proving all those critics wrong, and he's turning out to be one of the most sturdy young left tackles. The only thing I worry about him, if there's even one little worry, is the injury issues. He has had issues with that ankle injury, and you just got to hope it doesn't flare out during the season. But otherwise, I feel comfortable as hell about Andrew Thomas, the left tackle position. I feel the same way about Evan Neal. Sure, he struggles a little bit in terms of his footwork and stuff and his positioning at the right tackle position, but it's going to come with a rookie. You have to give him time to actually adjust to the NFL game. And like you said, NYG, I think he's going to be good over there at right tackle, especially with a guy like Mark Lewinsky at the right guard position. I think that's going to help him out incredibly, having a veteran over there to help teach him the ropes. So I think that's going to be a big asset over there. I don't love the center position as much. I don't love Feliciano at center. I actually think that some of our backups actually are better players than Feliciano, but obviously the connection he has with Bobby Johnson, our offensive line coach, I'm going to give a hell of a lot of credit to Bobby Johnson because that guy is just doing a hell of a job so far with this offensive line. Even though it is preseason and training camp, you could just tell how much different this offensive line feels because of Bobby Johnson. But I actually liked what Max Garcia was showing a little bit more at the center position than I liked what Feliciano has been doing, but I'll give Feliciano a chance. I honestly believe Shane Lemieux is starting the season on the IR. Everything that you hear is that he's going to be on the IR to begin the season with that ankle and foot injury. So I think most likely, unless they're going to have Devery Hamilton be that swing tackle, I think Azudu is probably going to start the season as that left guard. I do like Azudu in terms of a run blocker, but I a little bit worry about him since he is a rookie, that he's going to struggle in terms of the pass blocking. But I do like some of the offensive linemen we have, but I still think that I actually think the interior does worry me a little bit because I got to see what these guys can do on the field. They did show something a little bit preseason, but I got to see more. And that offensive tackle position, I mean, if God forbid Andrew Thomas or Evan Neal go down with injury, are we really feeling comfortable right now putting a guy like Devery Hamilton, while he's looked good at times in the preseason and training camp, he still is a guy that's very unproven, and he was struggling a little bit towards the latter end of training camp. So I definitely believe that they're going to be going out trying to seek for upgrades. And one guy I'm looking at, Alec Lindstrom, especially for that center position.
Yeah.
Alec Lindstrom was a guy we were all looking at besides Tyler Linderbaum as a guy that could come in and maybe be a long-term center. I don't know how he fits in with what Bobby Johnson is looking for in terms of his offensive lineman. He is a little bit undersized. But, I mean, I think Dallas got rid of him because they already believe maybe Tyler Biadasz, even though I don't think he's that good as a center. I think he's average, is their center of the future right now. So I think the Giants should definitely put in a claim for a guy like Alec Lindstrom as a guy that you can maybe develop there under Bobby Johnson as a center of the future. And I definitely believe, unless the Giants for some reason think that Devery Hamilton is going to be a serviceable offensive tackle, or they really still believe that Matt Parrott could be a solid swing tackle when he comes off the PUP list. If he does come off the PUP list in, I think, was it 6 weeks, I believe you're on the PUP list to begin the season. So I think that unless they really have belief in a guy like Devery Hamilton, I do believe we're going to upgrade the backup offensive tackle position, and I really hope the Giants are able to make a claim in a guy like Alec Lindstrom, because unless Bobby Johnson and that offensive line coaching staff doesn't believe he fits in with the system, I do believe that he's a guy we can develop on this offensive line going forward. I'll let you guys take it after that.
Go ahead, Coach. Get in there.
With the offensive line, I'm fine with the starting five. The interior, they just have to first and foremost develop a level of continuity. It's just like the quarterback and wide receivers. When you're playing on the line, especially on the interior, not only do you have to know what your partner is doing, but you also have the excuse me, you have to have that feel. So it's going to take a little bit of time. Um, you know, Feliciano, he's here really because he knows the system, and he knows all the calls. He's also learning. I understand he's played a little bit of center, but still a development process for him to really be, that consistently dependable offensive center. So it's going to take a little bit of time that I see with him. I mean, he has the temperament. He is strong. He does need to play with a little bit better technique. Sometimes he does allow the D lineman to get underneath him and gain leverage on him. So, those are little things that he needs to work on. In terms of what's his name, Lindstrom.
Yeah.
Um, if we're playing a lot of outside zone, he can fit into that because all he has to do is ride and wash whoever it is and give the running back a cutback lane, or if he can get his hips to seal, step in and get the outside shoulder of the D lineman, and he could seal. That's another way to give the alley. So he has quickness, but he needs to build strength. And right now he's not there. It may take a year, it may take 2 years for him, 1 year to develop the level of strength, and then another year to really develop into using that strength and putting everything together. So, would I be upset of, making a claim on him? No. He's a young player, and he could grow and fit in with what we already have in terms of young offensive linemen. So, it could be something that we could build for the long term. So, the Garcia, um, I mean, he did show me a little bit of something stepping in. I mean, there were some mistakes, but no player is perfect. But he held his own. I mean, I was concerned, but sitting down and watching him play in the interior, especially at center, I think he did all right in that emergency situation. So, that's why I don't have a problem with him being here. Azudu, he's young. He just has to develop. I can see the skill there. That's why they don't trust him as a tackle now. But maybe next year I could see him as a swing lineman, not just as a tackle, a swing lineman playing all the offensive line positions except for maybe center right now. So, um, who am I missing? Bredesen. He's all right. He's still developing. You can put him in the pitch. Do I want to see him the full season out there playing? No, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, he's still something that there's something about him that I have a little bit of concern. Whether it's footwork, hand placement, there's something that still needs to be developed there. But overall, with the offensive line, it's going to take a little bit of time. Is this something that if they build a level of continuity, it could give the quarterbacks time to get the ball to the playmakers downfield and to the running game? Yes, I think they would fit in perfectly in the running game, and as long as we're doing that and then bringing down an extra man into the box, and that allows us to get the ball downfield, or have crossers where you're letting Shep or Tony come across or Robinson come across, and if teams are playing man, you do your pick routes, your rub routes, and allow them to get open that way. You can scheme them that way. It just with that offensive line, if they do everything they're supposed to do, it can enhance the offense and it can make it that more effective and efficient.
True that, man. I totally agree 100% with everything you said. As far as I will say this, now we've all been, you know, we kind of talked about Feliciano a little bit from the center standpoint. Um, Alex Lindstrom was a undrafted free agent,
Mm-hmm.
and which means the Giants basically passed on him twice. They passed on him in the draft and in the free. Well, maybe they tried to get him in free agent. We don't know. Maybe they just got jumped. But and given the fact that given Dallas's situation on the offensive line, it's just kind of surprising to me that they would let a guy like Lindstrom go. Um, Maybe they trying to be cute and get him to the practice squad, but that's a little alarming for me. So just something to think about when you see some of these guys get cut because they're being cut for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
especially a team that is hurting on the offensive line, just to put it mildly, in the Cowboys. Kind of shocking that they would let a player like Lindstrom go if they thought he could help them on the offensive line. But go ahead, Nimmer. What you think about this offensive line, and do you think it's good to go, or do you think we need to add some pieces?
I think the offensive line is okay right now. I think we should bring in either, like Jeffy was saying, Alex Lindstrom. There is another name out there from Alex Leatherwood. We should also try to look into him if he's good. So I feel like
Yeah,
if we
from the
can,
Raiders.
yeah,
I seen that on Twitter. I don't think I want to touch any of the Raiders draft picks. I think
No, no,
they've
I don't want
had
anything
like
to do with it.
right, they've had like I mean their first round picks from 2000 since 2019, I think, have
Yeah,
pretty much all been
yeah,
bust.
yeah.
makes
Um,
sense.
they've been bad at drafting, and I put this out there, and I'm like, how can a team that's been that bad at drafting? I mean, you
Yeah,
talking about Gettleman level bad, probably worse, and still be in contention to win a Super Bowl this year?
for
That is
sure.
mind boggling. How have you been that bad at drafting to where your core players are basically free agents that you signed outside of Derek Carr and the running back Josh Jacobs? You know, I don't understand that. That's a weird thing for me when it comes to the Raiders. But no, I don't want no part of Leatherwood or Leatherface or Leather to the
There's
face. I don't
Leatherface.
want.
I agree with that. There
I,
is a guy. There is a guy out in Minnesota that was cut. Wyatt Davis. Wyatt Davis. I don't know what you guys think
he
about
was
him.
somebody that I think us fans were interested in, and
Yeah.
maybe the Giants were going to take. But it's the same thing. Like he was even a draft pick, I believe. If he was cut by
Hmm.
Minnesota, there
Yeah,
must be something more to it with him if he couldn't fit over there, because I don't think Minnesota exactly has a fantastic offensive line too. But I actually had a question for NYG and Coach Ed. I know you guys did the film study on the offensive line. You guys are much better when it comes to like the film studying and like going over the small little things. But do you guys think I'm being a little bit crazy with what I said about Andrew Thomas and that he could be a top three tackle this year at the left side? You think like he does have that potential to be an upper echelon guy, or do you think maybe it's I'm being a little bit too premature? I just want to ask the both of you because you guys watched the tape on him. I'm guessing a lot too.
Yeah. No, I think he is. I think he's. I think he's already progressing to be there. I think Andrew Thomas's performance last year got overshadowed because the rest of the offensive line was just that bad. Um, nah, man, the guy's solid, man. He's going to develop into basically, like you said, one of the top echelon offensive tackles in this league. Um, just technique wise, man, like I see like on film, and coach is a whole lot better at breaking this down than I am, but I see on film like if there's an instance where Andrew Thomas might be beat now, he has the ability to adjust and kind of reset, and that's what you didn't see his rookie season. I'm sure Coach can elaborate on this a lot more, but when Andrew Thomas was getting beat, um, his hands weren't where they should be. That punch, but now even if even if say uh, a edge rusher gets around or gets a jump on him, Andrew Thomas now has that ability to adjust his stance and his punch in order to kind of move that defender around the quarterback instead of getting your footwork is key on the offensive line. So his footwork allows him to adjust. He can adjust his hands and his feet on the go, pretty much,
Mhm.
and that's kind of where he was alluding to. If you watch, I watched Andrew Thomas's press conference too, and he said a lot of times last year he would, I guess, when he made a mistake, he he didn't recover from that mistake, so to speak. But now he's able to recover. If go and look at the press conference he did. He said pretty much like, "What's the difference?" And he's like, "Yeah, now when I make a mistake, I don't dwell on it. I just go back out there and just, you know what I'm saying, let that go and start new on the next play." And that's a huge thing, especially in sports. Period. You can't let a bad play pretty much ruin the whole entire game for you. You got to be able to recover. And not only is he able to recover mentally right now, but if you look at him on the field, he has good recovery on the field if and when he gets out of position or seems like he's about to get beat. That's what I've noticed on film. But I'm gonna let our coach, speak on that. Go ahead, coach.
All right, can he be a top five? He has the potential. No, you said top three, right?
Top three, top five. I mean, around that area.
He has the potential. Yes, he does. As long as he continues to keep working. One of the things that I noticed, Andrew Thomas, when he first came out, was doing the same thing that I said about Neil. It's when he gets into his pass set, his head is over his knees, so he's easy to get knocked off balance. Now Thomas keeps his head back. His hands are out, perfect. He has decent punch. He puts his hands in the right place. He rides a defender if necessary. Has good strength, good footwork. If he's kicking into a pass set, he takes the right angle. His first step is a good explosion, but he doesn't explode too far where he leaves a gap where he can be beat inside. He adjusts perfectly, and when he needs to, attack and ride and push the defender past the quarterback, he does that very well. In the run game, he gets into his defender, and short of complete mauling, he moves the man out of the spot, and that's the hardest thing to do. In terms of when you're playing football, is imposing your will and moving a man off the spot. Without a double team. So he has that ability to be up there with the elite tackles in the league. Can he do it? Yes. Honestly, do I think he's going to do it this year? It's contingent upon the whole offensive line and how we do as a whole. So individually, like I said, can he do it? Yes. I want to say he is, but I will say he's probably going to be in the top 7, 5 to 7. That's where I would put him by season's end if he does what I think he's going to do. But can he be one of the top elite tackles? Sure. He has the skill. He has the abilities to be that. So there's no denying it. So are you off base with that thinking, Jeff? No. No, I understand why you're thinking that way, and it's not because you're a Giants fan. You see the skill set there, so
And
And I think
I
I
appreciate.
think having yeah, I think having a solid left guard next to Thomas is going to help him. I wish Lemieux was healthy because I think that's who would definitely Andrew Thomas would benefit having beside him is a guy like Lemieux. You've seen him
Mm-hmm.
start to develop some chemistry in 2020 towards the end of the season.
Yeah,
So I think that's what is going to take Andrew Thomas to that next level is having that solid left guard beside him that he can play off of and to where he doesn't have to basically kind of, you know, watch out for the guy beside him if he's making a mistake or not. If you got somebody that you can trust and you can play off of and that's going to be in the right position, on those stunts and twists because the Giants have been getting killed with those stunts and twists
Yep.
repeatedly for the
Mm-hmm.
last, like, I don't know, man, years. So if you got a guy that you can trust at that position, that's why I do not want to see a Zudu start. I know they might be forced to, but if you can put a veteran next to Thomas that can solidify that left guard spot, I think that's what's going to take Andrew Thomas to the next level, in my opinion.
and I appreciate that because I wanted to ask the both of you guys because I know both you guys are a lot better when it comes to film study. I mean, I watched a little bit of film on the offensive line
Yeah,
during a
I'm
couple of
learning. I'm
preseason
learning.
games.
Thanks to
I'm
coaching
learning
from
too.
Ed. Yeah,
I'm learning from Coach Ed, from Pat, and from the Talking Giants guys, especially Bobby Skinner, like the guys that break down the offensive
that
line.
is
I
so
was
true.
watching, the technique and the foot placement and the hand placement
Mm-hmm.
with Andrew Thomas, and I this might be outlandish and crazy for me to say, but I've had some crazy takes before. I haven't seen a New York Giants left tackle look this good since like probably Ron Stone. And Ron Stone was a pretty good left tackle for the Giants at the time. Wasn't great, but he was pretty solid. I believe he made a couple of Pro Bowls for the team. I think back in the late
Hmm. He
'90s, early
was.
2000s.
Wasn't
So
he a
I
guard?
mean, I know David Deal was good, but I think he was more of a guard. If anything, he just had to play tackle because Will Beatty got hurt and he was inconsistent. And I thought Kareem McKenzie, but obviously he was a right tackle. But Andrew Thomas just gives like the Giants fan base the confidence that when he's out there, you're not expecting a lot of mistakes from him, and he's going to be that stalwart left tackle that we have the confidence in that we have not had in a long time. And it is not crazy to say that this guy could go down as arguably one of the best offensive linemen this organization has ever had because of just
I,
the upside he has, the technique he puts out there, the leadership he puts out there. I personally just myself, I'm very, very, very high on Andrew Thomas after what I've seen. And as long as he can stay healthy, I'm hoping that ankle doesn't start barking at all this season because this guy's the limit. And I know Evan Neal, I feel the same. I think he's going to be a very good right tackle. But I'm just very high on Andrew Thomas, and I really believe that this guy is going to be the franchise left tackle for the New York Giants for a very long time. And he's going to be one of the greatest offensive linemen this organization has ever did. And you know what? As much as we bash Gettleman, Gettleman did find this guy, and he did draft him. So
that's true. That's
gotta have to
true.
give
It's
credit where
true.
credit
Yep.
is due.
Let's get into the defense real quick, fellas. We running up on 2 hours or 2.5 hours here actually.
Yeah, I
So
didn't even realize it. Yeah.
let's uh let's go through this defense real quick. Um, Defensive line, you got Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams, Justin Ellis, DJ Davison, and Nick Williams. I like this group, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because first of all, you got DJ Davison. That's your draft pick. Looks solid this preseason. He's looked solid. Nick Williams has looked solid. Justin Ellis, that's the beat.
Yep.
That's the beat. That's your if you want to go back to Dalvin Tomlinson. I know he's not Dalvin Tomlinson. I know that, but he's a big guy. He's not going to be Danny Shelton. So I think this guy is definitely can hold down the middle, for sure. So you got a solid defensive line. Outside linebacker, you got Kayvon Thibodeau, O'Shane, Pat like to call him O'Shane, but O'Shane Zimenez. I know that's a big sticking point for Giants fans. The Giants fan base. I'm gonna tell y'all something real quick. The Giants fan base absolutely hates any player from the past regime that was drafted by Gettleman and Judge. And that's just what it seems like. You know, you get guys like Slayton, Zimenez, Jones, Barkley, Shepard, you name it. Any of these guys that were drafted by the previous regime, fans want them gone. It's like new is better, you know, and new ain't always better. Yeah, I wanted Roche to make the squad too, but if this coaching staff, Wink, and this defense has a fit for Zimenez as a situational pass rusher that can be more productive than a guy like Quincy Roche, I can't be mad at him. I can't, because it's the same thing with Slayton. It's the same thing with Daniel Jones. We're seeing a trend. It's the same thing with Saquon Barkley. These coaches, now these are the coaches you guys wanted. Everybody wanted Dable. Everybody wanted Shane. So let these guys do their job and stop whining and crying because certain guys make it over other guys. You know, we all have our favorites, you know, but Zimenez does offer some pass rushing ability. You know, maybe he just wasn't used right in um, Patrick Graham's system. So you got Zimenez, you got Aziz Ojolari, of course, Ellison Smith, Jahar Ward, Tamar Fox. Um, Inside linebackers, you got Blake Martinez, Micah McFadden, Tate Crowder, Cam Brown, Carter Coughlin, and Austin Calitro. Austin Calitro, of course, is the guy that been making plays all over the defense, man. The preseason, man, had I think 2 interceptions and a pick
Yep.
six and a fumble recovery. So this guy he's a playmaker, man. I like Calitro. I'm glad they found a way to keep him. So I think overall solid inside linebacker group. I'm interested to see what Blake Martinez is coming off that injury. Haven't seen him a whole lot. Seen him briefly in the preseason. But that being said, I like this kid McFadden. Michael McFadden has been all over the place. Very instinctive linebacker. Um, he's in on the plays. I think has a good football IQ. And I think
Did we lose you, NYG?
Yeah, I think we lost
You know?
NYG. You
Can
still
you hear
here,
me?
bro?
Yeah, we
Can
can
you
hear
hear
you
me?
now.
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what happened to the mic. But yeah, I think McFadden can possibly take over that role that Blake Martinez has right now because you know I don't think Blake Martinez will be here past this year. Um, Cornerbacks: Adoree Jackson, Darnay Holmes, Aaron Robinson, Rodarius Williams, Cordell Flott. Williams is still injured. I believe he might go to IR, so this is definitely a position that needs to be upgraded. And again, you know, um, I don't know who all listens to me. I'm sure all you guys do, but I've been the one saying that James Bradbury move gonna come back to bite the Giants in the ass, and here we go. You are thin as shit at cornerback, and Robinson has not looked great. He is looked very, very shaky. Um, and it ain't like he's been going up against the top receivers in the game. He's going against backup pretty much in the preseason. He's not looked great at all. That's a huge concern for me. I'm pulling for Robinson. I like him as a player. I have no knocks against him, but the Giants did draft him to be a slot cornerback, not an outside cornerback, and people are trying to force him to be an outside cornerback, but Aaron Robinson was drafted to be a slot cornerback. So you have an overload of slot cornerbacks, in my opinion, with Flott, Holmes, and Robinson. The only one that does, I think, the best player you got to play the outside is Rodarius Williams, and he's hurt. So corner is an issue. I think they'll upgrade a corner at some point. We shall see. Safety, you got Xavier McKinney, Julian Love, Dane Belton. I don't like the fact they kept three safeties, especially when you got a guy like Dane Belton coming off an injury, and he's a rookie, and he did not get any playing time at all during the preseason. So I don't like that move, but obviously they got other moves coming down the line. So we just got to be patient as fans. But the secondary is looking like our weakest point on this team, to be honest with you. Special teams, no surprise. You got Bram Gano, superstar kicker, pretty much, man. Jamie Gillen. I've been shocked by this. This guy can punt, man. This guy can kick the hell out of a football, man. I mean, he boomed like what, a 60-some yard punt. I was like, dang, you damn sure wouldn't have got that from Riley Dixon last year. So I think this guy's gonna be pretty good. And then of course the long snapper Casey Crowder. Not much to say about him, but what do you guys think about this defense, more particularly the secondary? Because I think it is pretty much the sore spot on not only this defense but this entire team. What do you guys thought on
I think that the secondary is the biggest concern. It has been the biggest concern since we let James Bradbury go. Also, we let go of two guys that might not have been great players, but they were still veterans in that team, and Jabril Peppers and Logan Ryan at the safety position. And Julian Love was a bit player for a lot. He was a guy that's a jack of all knives, Swiss Army type player in the secondary. Now you're asking him to be the starting safety. Is he going to be able to adjust to that? Like you said before about Dane Belton, coming off a serious injury, a rookie. He's going to be tasked with being that third safety right now. Is he going to be able to rise up to that position and be able to be that third safety when we need to count on him? I don't know. It's going to take some time for him to get adjusted. I think we're definitely going to be looking for a safety. Who even knows? I think that Tony Jefferson is probably going to be the target for us in terms of safety position for an upgrade because of obvious the familiarity he has with Wink Martindale. So I think none of us would be surprised if Tony Jefferson is a New York Giant by tomorrow. In terms of the cornerback position, I am scared to death of this position. If you guys disagree with me, go ahead, but I am scared to death of this position because I have a feeling if Adoree Jackson, who I think is easily one of the most important players on this team, if he goes down with an injury with the only established cornerback on this roster, if he gets hurt, you're asking Rodarius Williams, who's probably not going to play until week 5. I do believe he's going on the IR because he's still not back from that ACL injury he had last year. Aaron Robinson, who's been spotty out there. He's had some good moments. He's had some bad moments. Cordero Flott, who was injured for a decent amount of camp and has also struggled towards the end. And we don't have a lot of depth right now, but I know they're probably going to be trying to sign some experienced guys. But the secondary is a concern. The linebacker position, I'm a little bit surprised they kept 6 on inside linebackers, but obviously Brian Dable made it where he wanted to have special teams be more of a value with this team. So that's why probably Cam Brown, who was obviously named the captain of this team, and Carter Coughlin made the roster because of their special teams value. I'm happy for a guy like Austin Calitro to make the team because I've liked what I've seen what this guy's done in preseason and training camp. He's earned his way on this roster with some of the plays he's made. I don't know if he's going to be able to translate on the field as, if he has to play a little bit more. Micah McFadden looks pretty good from the plays that he's made out there. but he is a rookie as well, fifth round pick. Have to see how he's going to be able to look out there if he's been tasked to play more. Blake Martinez is going to take time. Blake Martinez is going to take time to, get his legs back under him coming off that ACL injury. So he might be a little slow. Maybe like as the season goes on, he'll start getting his legs back under him. But I don't know what to expect from Blake Martinez. I have liked what I've seen from Tate Crowder. So hopefully Tate Crowder is going to be a guy that's going to take a step forward. Maybe he's a good fit in this Wink Martindale system. I don't know about the outside linebacker position because I don't know where Thibodeau and Ojulari are in terms of their health. And same thing with Ellerson Smith. I think Ellerson Smith is going to be that other player that's going to start the season on IR. So he's probably going to be out for the first 4 games of the season. We don't know where Thibodeau and Ojulari are in terms of their injuries. I wouldn't be shocked if Thibodeau misses at least the first week or two due to that knee injury, so the Giants don't want to rush him back. Ojulari might be the same thing with the calf, so I think that's maybe why they kept 6 guys over there. I was a little bit surprised with Roche because, I did think he had some ability in this defense, but obviously he wasn't a system fit. And that's the only reason why he didn't make it here. And I believe that Ellerson Smith, O'Shane Zimenez, and Timon Fox were better system fits for this defense going forward. In terms of defensive line, I like what we have in the defensive line. I mean, what was one of the biggest issues that you guys were talking about that the Giants struggled with last year? Stopping the run. What did the Giants go out there and get? A bunch of big guys that what's their specialty? Stopping the run. Nick Williams, I thought was an underrated pickup. Good at stopping the run. Justin Ellis, big guy, plug in
And
there in the middle of that defense, stop the run. Go
let
ahead.
me plug something in real quick. When it comes to stopping the run, what is the strengths of the teams in your division? I think it's running. Now, people could say Dallas is a passing team. I'm not buying it. I think Dallas wants to run the ball first. They've always been like that. They don't want to expose Dak Prescott. Philly doesn't want to expose Jalen Hurts. I'm sure the Commanders or whatever they call themselves don't want to expose Carson Wentz. I think, the way you build a team is to win your division. So if you have a Giants team, because we're talking about Philly, and this is something that I thought about earlier. Um, People talk about the run defense. If you have a team like Philadelphia, who is primarily going to be a run first team, I don't care what anybody says about Hurts and AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, whatever. Philly's going to be a run first team. They were last year. They're going to be again this year because they don't want to expose their quarterback because he's not the greatest of passers. I don't think Jalen Hurts is a bum, but he's not going to drop back and throw for 450 yards. So I think you building a team that's good at stopping the run, but that's also good at rushing the passer when your pass rushers are healthy is going to be the ultimate recipe for success. Now, this all hinges, of course, on health, as always with the Giants, but I do like the fact that they are emphasizing stopping the run, given the teams in your division, more particularly the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington team.
I agree with you, man. I think just to end my point real quick before I pass it over to you guys, I think our defense is going to be. I know a lot of Giants fans think our defense will be a top potential defense in this league. I think it does have potential, but I think
I
the
don't
key
think
of this
so.
defense is that pass rush. If they can get home to a decent rate and try to make sure that that secondary doesn't get exposed, and even the linebacking core, which they do have some guys with upside, but they are also inexperienced young players as well as guys coming off injuries. I think that pass rush and stopping the run is so important to this defense's success that if they can get home a decent amount, get to the quarterback, make it uncomfortable for him, at a good rate, as well as be able to stop the run consistently, we could have a top level defense in this league. But if they struggle getting to the quarterback, if the opposing teams do like the quick passes and try to negate that pass rush, or if we just still struggle stopping the run, it could be a little bit of a strong. It could be a an obstacle for this defense going forward because of the holes we have in terms of the cornerback position, and maybe even a little way besides in the secondary, because besides McKinney, I like Love a lot, but we have to see how he's going to look as a prototypical safety in the league and not just being that Swiss Army type player, which he has been. So I think stopping the run and pass rush is so important for this team and the success of the defense going forward. And I'll pass it on to you guys.
I agree. I totally agree. Go ahead, Nimmer. What's your thoughts on it?
I think the safety room is not bad. As many players as we have, I feel like that's good numbers. But I do think we should bring in a veteran because there is, if we could get a veteran, that would be great. And the same thing for the cornerback room. Like, we definitely need a veteran. The linebackers room, I was kind of surprised with one. No, I don't think I was surprised with anything because I think Claritro is definitely going to make it. I didn't know if Carter Coughlin or Brown were going to make it. I kept thinking no, but then they made it. So
Yeah,
those
that
are,
was interesting. Brown and
Special
Carter
teams.
Coughlin making it.
Special
That
teams.
yeah, that shows you they value special teams
yeah,
more than we think.
yeah.
But yeah, get in there, Ed. What you think about this defense overall? And I'm also interested to see how I guess how they line up as far as, are you going to put, like, how's your lineup going to go? Okay, you got Leo, and then you got Dex at the nose. Do you put Jahad Ward over there at the other end, or who you think they put over there at the other end, and how you think they're going to structure this defense? Because I know you're more about the X's and O's. That's why it's great having you on the show. I can pick your brain a little bit. How you think they're going to line up defensively? What would be the best lineup in your opinion?
All right. Well, it starts with your defensive principles, like you said, stopping the run. That's vitally important. You want to get teams into 2nd and 9, 2nd and 8, because that almost determines and dictates that they're going to have to pass, especially depending on if they're in the plus or the minus zones on the field. What's the down and distance? The type of team that you're facing. Like you initially said, within the division, Philly and Dallas, yeah, I consider them a running team. Washington, they're almost more balanced to me because they do have some very good wide receivers over there. So it's a matter of the offensive line giving them time. And if they're running effectively, it just makes their passing game that much more efficiently, and it makes it that much more efficient and effective. But going back to the overall defensive scheme, Jeff, I know you said you're scared with the cornerbacks. I don't get scared. Excuse me, I don't get scared. Do I have some concerns? Yes, but everything works together. Everything, and if your pass rush, if your and if your front line is just getting blocked up, it doesn't matter if you have Deion Sanders back there. If your quarterback has 4 to 5 to 6 seconds back there, no defensive back is going to cover a receiver that long. None. So anybody get picked apart. That's why getting pressure, you're with your pass rush. You don't want to have your ends or your edges rushing too fast, and your interior is not getting a good push, because then the quarterback has the alley, so he can step up, slide, and then he can slip away and get the ball downfield. So That has to work together, and then you have to get a good push in a quarterback's face, so this way he can't really see downfield, or he feels the pressure, or he sees that it's coming and he just throws that ball quickly. Because when a quarterback gets pressure in his face, they tend to either eat the ball and just take the sack, or they throw it up in harm's way. And defensively, if you can get your hands on that ball, then it's your opportunity as much as the receiver's opportunity to make a play on the ball. So that's where, to me, it's always the front line is most important because it helps everything else. It's just like the offensive line on offense. You can't do anything without a good offensive line. Defensively, you can't do anything without a good defensive line. You just can't. You need to get that pressure onto the quarterback. Remember the Super Bowl that we won when Tom Brady was back there. What did we do? We put the pressure on him basically in his face. Getting in a quarterback's face just does so much physically and mentally to them that it helps the back end, and it helps the back end be able to grow and develop. Yes, do they need to step up? Does A-Rob need to step up and do it and play better? Yes, he does. I'm not excusing that. I'm not saying he doesn't, especially in this scheme. He needs to be in his receiver's ass. He really does. He needs to be in phase with them. He needs to properly play with good technique. He can't get consistently beat off the line of scrimmage. You can't, on certain situations, if you're in man alone, you can't let a guy beat you across your face to the inside, because then it takes away all your leverage, and it makes it easier for the quarterback to get the ball to him because he can see him easier, as opposed to going down the field, going down the sideline. If you push your receiver, if you push your man towards the boundary, it takes away a lot. So is the potential for this defense to grow and become what we hope is at least a top 15 defense? Yes, it's there, but it's we all know it's going to take a little bit of time. But also looking at the first 4 games, if we do what we're supposed to do, worst case scenario 2-2, best case scenario 3-1. 4-0 is best case, but most likely 3-1. So, and I think it's going to be contingent upon the defense initially and the running game, because those will work hand in hand until we get the passing game up in efficient, being very efficient and very effective. So, I'm concerned with the defense. I'm not scared. We talked about the safeties. We definitely need to get another safety in here. Preferably a veteran. Linebackers. I was surprised that we went with so many inside linebackers. The one that I was surprised is Carter Coughlin, but I do understand he plays a special teams role, so that's very important. Even though we didn't do a good job for the most part preseason wide in terms of coverage, but I think they'll coach that up, because it was just basic stuff, nothing too complicated. But overall, I see the potential in the defense, and I hear your concern, Jeff, and I hear your fear. So I get where you're coming from, because if the pass rush doesn't get there, then yes, we can get picked apart. But we also have that type of a coach that, he's not going to worry about that. He's going to get after the quarterback, and he's going to want to have good smacks, if not good sacks, and put that ball up and take it away. So, the other thing is playing the games, the schemes. Like, we've only seen vanilla. We really have. I've watched that defense. We've only done vanilla. You haven't done a lot of movements. You haven't done, there were talks about, the blitzing too much, for a preseason game and all that BS. Looking at the defense and the schemes and, dropping interior defense alignment into coverage and overloading one side and sliding the line one way and looping the linebackers the other way, bringing cornerbacks off the edge, safeties, all of that stuff. It's just, this defense is a lot more complex and a lot more intricate. So I don't think everyone has seen everything as yet. So it's the potential is there for it to grow, and it's also going to be contingent upon Aziz and Kayvon. That I will say, it is very contingent upon them getting back onto the field because if they're out for an extended period of time, then it changes the whole dynamics. Even though O'Shane had a good training camp, does that translate to the field to the game field? Because realistically, he was going up against some starters, but for the most part, reserves. That's who he was going up against.
Let me
And
ask you
Jihad,
about that real quick, Coach.
yeah,
Um, Given what we said about the run defense, do you think that it was a mistake on the Giants' part to keep Zimenez
mm-mm,
given over Rashay, given the
mm-mm,
fact that
mm-mm,
he doesn't play the run as well as Rashay?
mm-mm. No, it's not a mistake because Roche, as much as we all loved what he did last year, he fits the defense we had last year. He does not fit. I'm not saying he can't develop and grow into this, but at the present moment, Zimenez is better suited for it. Also, Zimenez can drop into coverage a little bit more effectively and efficiently as opposed to Roche. Roche is primarily a true edge, a true pass rusher. You know,
Do you think Roche will be better in a 4-3?
yes.
Okay.
And don't get me wrong, this defense, even though it's considered a 3-4, it's a multi defense.
I
So it
agree.
has it has concepts of the 3-4, what I call a tight defense, which basically means it's a 3-4, but instead of the defensive ends lining head up or slightly outside shade of the tackles, they're lining up on the outside edge of the guards, which now forces and you can have your edges lined up on the line, making it look like his five guys. But now it changes who's coming, who's dropping. So are they all coming, or are they all dropping and somebody else is coming? So and you can do the forefront. You can play the forefront. You can play over under with it. It's just so much that you can do with it defensively that I love this defense. Just sitting down, watching it, breaking it down. The coverages. Playing zone, playing man, rolling your coverages. Just so much that you can do. Whether you're playing cover six or cover one, cover zero. It's just so much. And like I said, I just love it. I love watching it and learning and dissecting it. So
It's
I have a,
interesting you said about, real quick, Jesse, and I'm gonna let you
go
go.
ahead.
It's interesting you said about the ability of Jimenez to potentially drop
mm-hmm,
back in coverage because that's something that I've seen him do with Kayvon Thibodeau before his
mm-hmm,
injury. I've seen him drop back in coverage, and it's interesting that you said that. So maybe it is the fact that Jimenez offers more versatility in his
mm-hmm,
defense as
mm-hmm,
opposed to Roche, who's just more, like you said, just more of a true edge that guy's gonna set the edge, be a run stopper, give you limited pass rush upside, but he's not gonna be a speed rush or anything like that. The quickness of a guy like Jimenez and his ability to cover, that
mm-hmm.
would definitely be a reason to keep him over a guy like Boucher, which I kind of was already thinking this. That's why I asked you the question,
Mm-hmm.
just to kind of confirm my thoughts. I think he would be better in a 4-3 defense.
Exactly. I
Um,
mean, he's better there. I mean, Roche does have the skill set to be able to do it. But again, he's young and he's developing. Zimenez, for everything, all the bad mistakes he's done. This is what his fourth year. So
yeah, and
Yes.
he was miscast in the defense last year. Like
exactly,
Yes.
much
and
like you said, Roche was a fit. Jimenez was miscast. So now you have a
exactly.
defensive scheme that fits Jimenez and not Roche, and then fans are losing their mind over. I was one of the ones that wanted Roche too, but listening to you, this is why I like to listen to people that know football. listening to you, it make a whole lot of sense now more why they would keep a guy like Jimenez
Yeah,
over O'Shea, given his ability to drop back in coverage and his ability to be just a pure speed
he's a
edge
lot more
rusher.
versatile. Exactly.
Yeah,
So, and you know, and I also that those 2 years do make a big difference. It really does. You know, Zimenez made a lot of mistakes, and he's learned from it. Roche was this is his second year. So, you know, I mean, and I get it. Everyone loved what he did last year with him and Ojolari, you know, with them putting, you know, pressure at certain times. But in the same token, Zimenez has learned, he's progressed. And, you know, any player is going to learn. And, you know, we as fans sometimes we forget that. We just want the instant gratification with guys. You know, and you figure, you know, they come in, you know, after preseason, they should be ready to go when it's their first time being in the NFL. And no, it takes time to grow into that. It really does. And, you know, I'm from an era where, you know, even your quarterbacks would sit for 2 to 3 years before they got on the fields. You know, but now it's no. You want your quarterback out there day one, let him learn on the run, and, you know, hopefully he performs. And if not, you know, after 2 years, you kick him to the curb and try and get someone else out here. And, you know, that's not how true athletes develop and grow. You know, you gotta let them go. You gotta ride with their mistakes, and you know, see if they're progressing. If they're continuously doing the same mistakes, that's a different story. But if they're learning, you know, and there's so much that you know that guys do. I mean, Tom Brady didn't get to where he is, you know, by you know playing day one. He came in because Drew Bledsoe got hurt and but he was sitting on the bench and he developed and he made his mistakes and look where he is now today, you know, and he's seen everything and he's known everything and he knows to watch film and he knows what to study and he knows the tendencies of teams and the players and something as simple as a defensive back is his eyes are on me. Is he where's he aligned? Is he inside of the receiver? Is he outside the receiver? You know, where's the single high safety? You know, do you have two back? You know, are they? Does it look like they're playing? Are they trying to disguise it? You know, just again, it's just it's more into it than what everyone really thinks. So, and it takes time for every player to learn the game. The easiest position to learn in football is running back. It really
yeah,
is. That's the
I agree on
It's
easiest
that.
true.
position to learn.
Yep, that is true.
So, you know, every last one, offensive lineman, you have to work with your partner, knowing who's coming, who's not, the schemes, working on double team, getting your timing down, quarterback and receivers, you know, getting the timing down, getting on the same page when they're lined up, you know, this is what we want to do. You know, this is, you know, the quarterback has to know, look, he's lined up like this, the receiver's going to tell him, I'm going to do this. You know, if he does this, then I'm going to go here, and the quarterback needs to know that so he knows, well, my guy's going to be here, so this is where I'm going to put the ball so he can get to it. You know, so, and, you know, like I said, with defensive line, the timing, the pass rush, working with the linebackers, you know, your run fits, you know, each defender has a particular gap to fill. So, you know, and you know, you don't know how many times I've watched too many guys go into the same gap because they're not working together. And that's where sometimes a running back will bounce it and you see an alley and you're like, how did he get up in there? Sometimes it's not even the running back, it's not even the offensive line. It's the defense, it's the defense. You had two guys going into one gap and that opened up a hole that way. So, you know, again, it's just everything working together. Everything. Even special teams with the long snap and you know the long snapper to the holder to the punter, you know, snapping that ball, getting the right timing down, putting it right where it. I mean, I was a long snapper. I did it. I know exactly what to do, how to keep your butt down. You know, look. You know. Some people say, well, how do they do it not looking back? You know, it's a technique. You know, keep your butt down, and I was taught. Your hands to your ass. So if you do that and you keep your butt down, the ball is not going to sail high. It's going to go straight to the holder. It really is. It's not going to sail left. It's not going to sail right. It's really up to you. Butt down, ass, and that's working together, building that continuity. And that's why you see nowadays Long snappers are their own separate position. When I played, you play the position and then you are also a long snapper. So
Yeah, yeah. I was
Sure,
gonna say,
coach.
yeah, they would have anybody be the long snapper. The dang
exactly,
on backup. I think remember it was like sometimes it was like the quarterback or like a really position player or something like that.
exactly. It was always a
Go ahead,
position
Jeff.
player. So
I just had a question, and coach, that was a brilliant way that you broke that down. Uh, like always, I mean, you're one of the best when it comes to the X's and O's of things. But I just want to talk about the injuries. And I know always with the football teams and always with sports, the number one thing that always can determine a team's season is the injuries. Now, we already know the guys that are probably going to be either on IR or might miss some time. Ellison Smith, Shane Lemieux, Rodarius Williams, and obviously the two big ones, Kayvon Thibodeau and Aziz Ojolari. Which one of those injuries really concerns you the most as something that could linger for longer than the timetable maybe they have right now? Obviously, Thibodeau with the knee, same thing with Rodarius Williams, Ojolari with the calf, Ellison Smith with a foot, and Shane Lemieux as well with a foot or toe. So, out of those injuries and these guys, some of them are key players on this team. Which one of these injuries are you concerned with the most that could possibly linger into the season and could keep these guys out maybe longer than the original timeline that we're expecting them back?
Lemieux, it's Lemieux for me because that's he has good continuity with Thomas, and we need him right now to continue to build continuity with Feliciano. I mean, they're all, you have your concerns with all of them. Don't get me wrong, but Lemieux is the one that I think has the possibility of being longer. He's also, he's always been hurt.
Yeah.
Every season he's always been hurt. I mean, Rodarius Williams, really hasn't been out there. I mean, Tibbs, this is his first year. So, Ojolari, was he hurt last year?
No, I think he was healthy all
Yeah,
last
so
year.
that's why Lemieux, it just seems like every year it's always an injury, and it seems like it's always some type of well, no, he's at a different aspects, but to me, he's vital, to the offensive line because he impacts the whole. To me, he impacts the whole team. Because if the offense can't build a level of continuity, the defense is going to be out there. They're going to wear down. They're going to be tired, and then offenses are going to be attacking us, and then it changes the whole dynamic. So, to me, it's Lemieux more than anybody.
Namar, what about you? Out of those five guys, which one
For
of
me,
those injuries?
yeah, I think it could be Lemieux, but also think of Nick Gates. Nick Gates is another person that I'm not sure if I've been to the training camp, but I don't know if he's like fully back healthy. If he is, then that's cool. But I think Nick Gates is one.
I
NYG, what
think
about you?
I think the edge guys. Because me, it it's both of them, and that's what worries me. Because you need both of them at the same time. You because we seen what Ojolari could do by himself last year, and he was good, but not good enough. So you need both of those guys to be out there at the same time. And if you got one injured and one back, or another the other one injured and the other one healthy, or if you just got both of them out, it's going to derail your pass rush, which is going to expose that weak secondary that we talked about. So I ultimately think that those guys will be back, but I do worry if one of them get nicked up, during the season, how that is going to affect the overall pass rush and the overall defense because that secondary is so weak. We need pass rush to kind of mask that. I think the Giants, from a team standpoint, are a little bit fortunate this year that they're not going up against um, I call them pick you apart quarterbacks like uh, You got Aaron Rodgers on the schedule. You don't have to face a guy like Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. Like those guys pick you apart quarterbacks. Those are all the quarterbacks the Giants had to face last year, which is why they got picked apart because of inefficient pass rush. So lucky for them this season, that's not the case. But I do worry, especially given the situation in the secondary. Um, Coach is right. Lemieux is a big piece of this offensive line, especially given his continuity with Andrew Thomas and given his experience. Because remember, we have um, a behind him who's very inexperienced. He's a rookie, so don't want to see him be thrust into the starting lineup and have his struggles. So I do ultimately agree with Coach, but I'm more concerned about the edge, just because not that we don't have depth, but like I said, I'm not sold on Zimenez. Um, we'll see what Jahad Ward gives us. Roche's gone, and Ellison Smith is still banged up. So yeah, a little worried about that from an injury standpoint, and of course the cornerbacks. But I mean, I think the cornerback group is weak anyway, regardless of injury or not. I think you're an Adoree Jackson injury away from having a complete disaster back there. So
Mm-hmm.
that edge is going to be even more important. If something like that, knock on wood, that doesn't happen. So that's kind of my concern right there
And
with that
I
group.
agree with you. I think that I do agree with Coach, though, in a way that Shane Lemieux's importance on this offensive line can't be understated because of how good of a run blocker he is. Yes, he struggled for a while in terms of his pass blocking, but I think over time he's going to be able to develop and become better at that. And he did have good chemistry with Andrew Thomas, but I think guys like Azudu, a Hamilton, and those guys can still fill in at that left guard position, and maybe it won't be as much of a drop off. If Kayvon Thibodeau and or Aziz Ojolari are not on that field, and while I think the depth is okay, especially with, well, it's also especially the fact Ellison Smith is probably going to be out for at least the first quarter of the season. I mean, out of all the guys besides Shane Lemieux, Ellison Smith has pretty much not been seen at practice for like over a week. He's pretty much destined for the injured reserve, and
I agree.
I worry about the injuries I almost said Galladay. We talked about that already. Ojolari and Thibodeau. An MCL sprain is not something that you just automatically come back after a month and you'll just be good to go. I mean, that thing could linger, and especially the Ojolari one worries me a little bit more because calves are one of the most tricky injuries in the NFL to come back by, especially when you're using that speed and explosion from your legs.
Oh,
It's going to take time for that to like properly heal. So I wonder if the coaching staff is going to see how both these guys respond in terms of their Thibodeau's knee, Ojolari's calf, how they're going to look maybe going into next week. And I would not be surprised if, you know, Andre Patterson, Wink Martindale, and the defensive line outside linebacker coaches, they take it easy with these guys because they know how important they are to this team. And I worry about Ojolari's a little bit more because I think the calf injury, like I said, is just one of those tricky injuries that it can, if you don't let it heal properly, you can go out there and you can hurt it worse, and then you're going for even longer. But yeah, those pass rushers do scare me because there's a strong possibility that we could be going into the game against Tennessee with three of our four pass rushers not even active in the game because they're all out due to injury. So I think the Shane Lemieux injury is unfortunate, and I think it will hurt us in terms of run blocking and continuity, though I do believe we could have some guys that could fill in like admirably for Lemieux until he gets back. Cornerback position, I agree with you, MYG. I think it's going to be still a concern either way, even if Rodarius Williams was healthy or not. The pass rush is skip. The pass rush is a worry if those guys can't get on the field because even Tannehill not being the best quarterback, out there. He is an experienced veteran, and he should be able to still spot the weaknesses in that defense if
He
we're
ain't a
not getting a
complete bum.
consistent pass rush. So if Ojolari and Thibodeau and Ellerson Smith, for some reason, aren't healthy enough to play in that game, it is a little bit of a worry because, and don't forget about Austin Hooper too. He's an X factor in that game because he's not a bad tight end, and we have had struggles with the tight end covering the tight end over the middle. So if those three guys are not out there because of injury, we might struggle in terms of putting together a pretty good defensive plan against that Titans offense. So I do agree. Apologize for making it too long-winded, but I do think that the pass rush,
Nah, you
especially
good?
Thibodeau and Ojolari, is probably the biggest concern out of the injuries we have so far. But we got lucky in terms of like not losing major pieces. Knock on wood for the entire
Right.
season.
Well, let me ask you this, Jeff, okay? Because that comes into Wink Martindale. Everyone always talks about, before the season, he doesn't need the edge rushers or whatever, because he schemes it and he does a good job of scheming. So, with that being said, don't you trust him to scheme up the pressures?
No, I do. I do believe he's going to try to scheme up the type of pressures, and it could actually be maybe a linebacker blitz, maybe even a safety or corner blitz off the edge to maybe compound for what we're lacking in the pass rush. If those pass rushers aren't available due to injury, but I have to see what kind of defensive concepts he'll throw out there. If, for instance, Thibodeau and or Ojolari and Ellerson Smith are absent for that field, do I trust that he can do something? Absolutely, he's done it before. It just might not make it as easy without those guys out there. But then again, you have Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence, who still should
Mm-hmm.
be a presence out there on the defensive line, which could still help out that pass rush, though. So,
Let's talk about the matchup real quick.
okay.
Um, Tennessee, because I actually uh did a little bit of a preview on this team. Their run blocking offensive line is a pretty good group, but from a pass blocking standpoint, they're they're not great. So, given their strengths, run blocking, that's what you want to stop. So, to coach's point, if we got a pretty solid run blocking group and you can shut down a Derrick Henry, um, and get the Titans in third and long, um, I think given the group that you have, even without KT and possibly Ojolari, I think you can still do okay against the Titans because that group is just they're bad at pass blocking. I mean, they're not good. And if they're in the third and long and you got Wink on one of his blitz pressures, that's gonna give Tannehill fits. Tannehill is not no like I say, pick you apart quarterback. You know, they'll possibly maybe they get a deep shot, and that's another thing about the Titans. Their skill position group is not the best around the world either. So, given that being said, if you can get Tennessee Titans in third and longs, and you forcing Tannehill to drop back and pass against Wink Martindale's defense, I like my chances with Wink. I'm gonna be honest with you. I like my chances with Wink, um, given that matchup. Now, my concern is when you start going down the line to some of these other matchups where you do have a quarterback that can read and dissect defenses very well and beat those pressures that Wink throws. Fortunately, I don't think we have a lot of quarterbacks on the schedule that can do that, but you never know. You know, given this Giants team and what we've seen over the years, I'm not taking anybody lightly. But that Tennessee matchup definitely hedges on the fact that if you can stop their running game, and we've all been in agreement, we've liked what we've seen with the run defense,
Yep.
Um, I think the Giants have a shot in this game. You know, I went back and forth a little bit. First, I was like, okay, you know. Then when I looked at their offensive line, I was like, yeah, if Ojolari and KT are there, they're lunch meat. And then now that our guys are out, I'm like going back and I'm like, I don't know. But given what one of my main concerns was with the as far as the run defense and what I've seen in the preseason, and given the guys they have kept um, on the defensive line, I, I do think they can hold up if they can slow Henry down and put that Tennessee Titans team in past situations where Wink Martindale can unleash that defense that we're all waiting to see.
Mm-hmm.
NYG and you guys, I want to flip the script a little bit and talk about the other side because I think that's going to be obviously as much of a key. Do you think that that offensive line in the first week that's put together is going to be able to hold up well enough to give Daniel Jones the amount of protection he'll need to scan the field, or obviously try to get the ball to Barkley because Tennessee has got a very strong pass rush as well, with Jeffrey Simmons up the middle and obviously Harold Landry and Bud Dupree on the outside. And I think Kevin Byard is one of the most underrated safeties in the NFL. So what do you guys
I
think
think that's
about the other side of the field when it comes to our offense against their defense?
I think it's Dable. I think it's Dable and Kafka's scheme that has to beat Tennessee. Now these guys, like, let's be honest. First, I say half of the season, Giants um, are probably going to be more of a run heavy team.
Mm-hmm.
Just given the offensive line issues, the chemistry issues with the receivers, so on and so forth. That being said, you got Kafka and Dable that they want to pass the ball. They want to throw the ball all over the field. They want to go up and down the field, a la Kansas City, a la Buffalo. The problem is the offensive line, I don't think, is ready to play that type of game. Neither are the receivers. So what you're going to have to do is, much like we've seen in the preseason, it's going to be those quick hitters. Like me and Coach broke down with Big Pat. Um, those easy reads, those quick reads, those easy reads. Get the ball out of Daniel Jones's hands fast. Um, Pretty much let your receivers do the work after the catch. Um, if you can do that and not expose, and see, I don't think Tennessee can do that. From just comparing, I don't think Tennessee can do that. That's not their type of game. They want to pound it with Henry. But we have a
Yep.
back in Barkley, that can catch the ball out of the backfield. So he can basically be an extra pass catcher for your offense. And that's going to help Jones out as well and help this whole offense out. So I think game planning wise, if Dable and Kafka can scheme up a plan like that to where they don't expose their offensive line to, 7-step drops, 5-step drops, whatever have you, and have your quarterback back there as a sitting duck, a la Joe Judge, Jason Garrett. If you can if you can do that scheme wise, I think the Giants will be okay. Now that pass rush, not in. All right, I don't know why
Yeah.
I'm going out, but that pass rush in Tennessee does worry me. So I think though ultimately it's going to have Jones and those receivers really get the ball out quick and create yak, and that's where I think we have an advantage over the Tennessee Titans. What you think, Coach?
Okay. You said one thing, Jeff, that's very true. You said their pass rush. Tennessee's pass rush is a concern, and it is because the offensive line doesn't have the continuity as of yet. But If we can run on them, chew up clock, tire them out, because we said our line is good at run blocking, that's an advantage. The other thing you can do with the run game is attack their edges. Make them move laterally, sideline to sideline. In other words, what I'm getting at is tire the defense out so come fourth quarter, you can then pass the game because their pass rush is not going to be that effective. The screen game is going to definitely, because that's how you neutralize blitzes and good pass rushing teams if you have a good screen game. And I've seen that. We've seen Neil get downfield 10, 15 yards and knocking over defensive backs. So that's an advantage. The RPO is another thing because if we're running, all that's going to do is force them to come up and try and play the run. And as soon as a defender vacates an area, that's just going to let Jones put the ball right there and just getting the ball out of his hands quickly. So our offense has the ability to be more balanced as opposed to Tennessee's. Yes, you want to make Tennessee one-dimensional and force them to pass more than they do run. And if we can do that, if we can go score quickly, now it forces Tennessee to try and have to match that. And then then they start to play a different game because with their running game, they want to, for the most part, they want to win 21-17, 24-20. They don't want it to be in the 30s and in the 40s. That's not their game. They want to keep it as low as possible, eat up the clock, run the game, pound you, and wear you out that way. So, can we do certain things offensively? Yes. Are your concerns legitimate? Yeah. But if we do what we're supposed to do with Robinson, with Tony, if he's out there. Now, if we don't have them, both of them out there, and Shepard, then it changes the whole dynamics because then it puts more emphasis on Galladay, and then it goes to Steele and the rest of the receivers. So, but if we have most of our players there, or you get Barkley out there on the edge in screen situations, I'll take that chance every time against any defense.
Thank you. That's actually how I felt the entire time. So thank you for breaking that down. Because right, and I think those quick passes over the middle to the wide receivers and to Barkley is going to be a thing that can help negate that Tennessee Titans pass rush. Because I don't know how good their linebacker core is, but if we can find a way to get the ball out quick enough, and even maybe leak Barkley out over the flat and have him, gain some of those yards at the middle, it could really help out this offense a lot and make it easier for that offensive line so they're not, back there too long trying to hold up. If, God forbid, we're trying to make try to throw the ball down deep, because I don't think we're going to get a lot of opportunities with that pass rush to take a lot of deep shots. It's pretty much like you said, and like what NYG said, it's going to be a lot of quick passes over the middle with Barkley, and then obviously I think Tony is going to be a big key because they're going to key on a guy like what's going on, Pat? They're going to key on a guy like Saquon Barkley, but if Tony is out there and he's healthy, he's going to be that guy that's going to be able to take the ball over the middle in those quick slants and be able to take it to the house. So if Tony's out there, I think he's a big X factor on that offense, and he could really make the biggest difference of negating that Tennessee Titans pass rush going forward.
Well, I'm happy to see.
What's
Y'all
Pat?
stayed longer than we did. God dog. Y'all been on here a minute.
What's up, Pat? What's up?
Oh man,
Yeah,
I just
man.
came in to
Thanks
say
for
hi
joining.
before I went to sleep, man. Look,
Yeah,
I said, man, NYG still live.
We're talking basketball, football for like 3 hours.
Yeah, we going around New York sports definitely does elaborate on a lot and open up a lot of conversation, man. I love this podcast, man, and I thank you all for joining. Because it definitely opens up a lot. I had my brothers on here, man, with the basketball, earlier, so we spent a lot of time on that. I actually touched on the Jets for a little bit, and then we got back into the Giants. So we've been spending basically the last hour and a half on the G-Man. But what's your thoughts on this roster, Pat?
Well, I'm gonna tell you this before I get off and go to sleep. Um, I think every roster move was made with a purpose. The only I'm not upset about it. I'm just a little shocked that Roche, Austin Allen were uh were cut. I don't get the Zimenez over Roche thing. They must see something that we don't see. Um, and Austin Allen, I don't see how he didn't make this roster. How thin we are at tight end. I think Austin Allen showed a little something in the preseason, but like I said, they just didn't make the cut, and I'm not going to be mad about it. But other than that, I know we're going to have to pick up another safety and look for one of those middle linebackers between Carter Coughlin and Calitro to be probably released to bring in another DB. Um, but other than the O'Shane Zimenez and Austin Allen, those are about the only two head scratchers I had. And I know everybody was mad about the Alex Bachman thing. I've been going back and forth on Twitter with that all day.
I saw.
I had some fun. I
It
had
was
some
like we
fun
released
today with
Jerry
Alex
Rice to his
Bachman.
prime with him.
Right. We receiver number one. What? And I do have to say this because NYG was the first one that brought it out. You're willing to release a guy that was picked in the fifth round that has 1,830 yards and 13 touchdowns for us in 3 years, and two of those years were in the Joe Judge era. And he's only had 1 year where to consider where he has real bad drops. The other 2 years he didn't have hardly any drops at all. So that's a guy that's averaging a little over 600 yards and 4 touchdowns a year. You willing to get rid of that for one guy that had one half of a game in preseason, and one good half in preseason, and all of a sudden Darius Slayton is just booty chips compared to Alex Bachman. I don't get it. Like I don't get it.
Like that.
Yo, I was dying, yo, when you brought the Hulk Hogan joint up. Yo,
Yeah,
that Hulk Hogan theme song been in my head all day, son.
it has.
Yeah.
I am
I
a
saw it also.
real
You
American.
made me go watch some Hulk Hogan matches of the past when you brought that one up.
But yeah, that's why I call him the preseason Hulk Hogan. That's what he is. The preseason Hulk Hogan. And I'm gonna be honest with you, only reason why Sales is on this roster is because Colin Johnson got hurt.
Colin Johnson got hurt.
If Colin Johnson didn't get hurt, Seals wouldn't be on this roster. So they both would have been back where they used to be, practice squad.
Practice squad warrior. Exactly. One point though, that I heard you just mention, that coach brought up a good point, kind of opened my eyes.
Yeah.
I know you was on your stream earlier, but with Zimenez over Roche, and I'm gonna let Coach elaborate on this a little bit. We about to wrap it up, so I ain't gonna keep you long. But Zimenez offers more versatility than Roche, and I've kind of thought this myself, and Coach kind of confirmed it. I think Quincy Roche is more fit for a 4-3 defensive end than he is for a 3-4 standing outside linebacker. Also, when you looked at the preseason and you seen how they dropped Kayvon Thibodeau in coverage, that's something that Zimenez offers that Roche doesn't. Zimenez was not used in that role, so we didn't never see it. All they asked him to do is, hey, line up, rush. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what they're looking at as far as Zimenez over Roche. I was a big Roche fan, but Coach kind of opened my eyes up to why they might want Zimenez scheme-wise over a guy like Quincy Roche.
Well, that's why I always call.
That.
Yeah, that's why I always call Coach and give him his respect, because you just opened my eyes about that shit too. That was the only scenario I didn't think of. That's why
Go
he's
ahead,
Coach.
Talk about it.
No, I mean it's like I said earlier, number one, Roche also has 2 years. I mean, not Roche. Zimenez has 2 years. He's made his mistakes. Don't get me wrong, and Roche is only going into his second year, and with this new scheme, dropping into coverage, coming movement, Zimenez is more versatile in terms of doing that, and then filling in like you said for Tibbs, and dropping into pass coverage, understanding the zone concepts, or understanding you know playing certain leverage. If he's playing man to man, keeping certain player inside or outside of him, and funnel if he has to funnel it to the safety or to help, whatever the case may be. And that's coming from being out there and being in the league. And I'm not saying Roche doesn't have the ability to do that. He just has to develop it. And Zimenez, for all his mistakes, he has the experience. And I just saw and I see that. And with Martindale, with all the movement we've talked about that he does, I mean, it makes sense to me that Zimenez has that ability more than Roche right now. And I know the fan base loves Roche. There's things that I loved about Roche, but if you're looking at the coach, we talked about it earlier. Scheme matters, and it's not just offense; it's defense too. So
That's true. You just opened up my eyes about that shit. Everything they get from Roche, they get from Jihad Ward.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when you put Jihad Ward on the field, you know that Jihad Ward is coming because he's not going to be able to go out there in coverage like that because it's not his stick. So with Zimenez in there, you might not ask Zimenez to always go and rush the passer. I mean, yeah, that makes sense, Coach. I, yeah, you just opened my fucking eyes to that shit. That's crazy.
And
Yeah,
I'm
he
looking
opened
at
my
the
eyes too, because I was
I'm looking
thinking
at
the same thing.
Tennessee's roster too, and we forgot about one person, and I
Who's
hope
that?
Malik
Bogey
Willis.
man.
Malik
Who?
Willis.
Oh, that's
Malik
right.
Willis.
Yeah,
Because of their running game, if they put him
Yeah.
out there,
yeah,
that I don't want to say changes everything drastically, but you have to approach it a little bit differently versus Tannehill, because Tannehill is not as elusive as Willis is, and being that he's a rookie, and maybe they have a package for him now. As a coach, I have to prepare for that because what I saw in the preseason, especially with his mobility, I still have to, even if they don't use him, I have to prepare for that. So that's extra time that I got to put into the game plan and coaching guys up with that. So it's like, oh damn, I'm sitting here looking at their roster, and I'm like, oh damn, he's their second quarterback right now. Well, they only have two, but I'm just like, okay.
I mean, they're probably gonna bring him in on a couple of packages,
Mm-hmm.
just to throw us off. And one of the plays he might run, and the second play comes, and then he might try to throw a bomb on us. You never know.
Exactly. Do a
So
little bit of RPO, and especially if you have that's why shutting down their run game is important. So one, two, three, four. They got four running backs and a fullback. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I'm glad I came on. I'm glad I always support because I just learned something new, and that's probably the main reason why they got rid of Roche because they get everything Roche does with Jihad Ward, but better.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah. True that, man.
So
And
Before we end it off, NYG, Pat, I got a question about the tight end position. Do you think OJ? Because I was on a few channels, I was telling them before on some Bills. I was commenting with some Bills fans. Do you think OJ Howard fits our system? Because there's a lot of red flags that are going on out there in the Bills organization.
If he couldn't learn the bill system, what makes you think he's gonna come over here and learn this system immediately? Like
That's what I was thinking.
every player that has a name that's released, should the Giants sign him? Like, man, let's ride with the people that we have and see what we got.
Yeah.
that's the
Stop
reason
clamoring
why
for
there's
all
no
these
need.
other people. That's what's wrong with this fan base. We clamor too much for the next big thing. Let's ride this. Let's be Giants. Giants. We've never been the next big thing. We've always been a team that's lunch pail, go to the grind it out, and let's see if we can win this game.
I'm
So
just
everybody wanting
yeah.
us to be this team that
mm-hmm.
wins 10 to 11 games a year, but a lot of those teams, they never win shit. At least when we do
Yeah,
make it, we win something.
yeah,
See
that
that?
is true.
So, I mean, no, I don't want OJ Howard. If I get another tight end, Brent Austin Allen off the practice squad.
Makes sense.
True that, man. I agree with
Yeah,
that,
no,
man.
Hopefully, if
That
he
being
makes it to the
said,
practice squad.
oh yeah, yeah. But that being said, we've been on for a minute, man, and I just want to thank all you guys for your support. I'm gonna keep saying that because I truly mean it. I would not be doing this if it wasn't for you guys, if it wasn't for you coming out and showing me support and motivating me to keep on the grind and to build this channel and to help not only build this channel but build our community, the Big Blue Crew. Proud to be a part of it. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to
yeah.
you, Jeffy, Coach, Pat, Nimmer. Um, I'll let you guys go around the table one last time, and you can just give your final spill and tell the people where they can reach y'all at. Um, and go ahead, Jeff.
Oh well, I'm gonna go first. I'm going to sleep.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
name
yeah.
Big
Go ahead,
Passport
go ahead.
Talk.
I'm right
I've been
behind you,
streaming
man.
all
I'm
day.
I'm right behind you, man. I gotta
I've,
get up in the morning too. Go ahead, bro.
Big Passport Talk. I've been streaming all day. Catch me or at Big Passport Talk. New York Giants full access. Get your full access with Big Passport Talk. And until the next time I see y'all, peace.
All right,
Go ahead, Jack.
Pat. Appreciate you, brother.
Easy, bro.
Have a good
All
night,
right,
man.
y'all have a good night, man.
You too. Be
You
All
too,
safe.
right,
Twitter
man.
Pat.
all right, Jeffrey, you go ahead now.
I mean, you can catch me NYG Jeffrey T3285, where I cover the Brooklyn Nets, the New York Giants, New York Mets, WWE Wrestling. I do the Monday Night Watch Along with my guy Early Cole for the Hardcore Sports Network. I also do, I co-host with Adam Costas, another great Giants content creator on the Hurry Up, as well as Premium Takes with Adam Costas, as well as Zion Zenith and Mac the Giants fan, every single Sunday that we're trying to move it to Saturday. And I appreciate everything that you've been doing, MYG, Coach, Namar, Lou, Pat,
Hey,
Joel, Miz, everybody in the New York Giants Big Blue Crew community, as well as the New York Giants community as a whole. Thank you very much for allowing me on here on your platform to be able to talk sports with you. I love talking basketball, football, baseball with all you guys, and I just appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to live. Might sound far fetched, but live out my dream just being able to sit here and talk sports with a bunch of other sports fans, whether it's positive or negative. So thank you very much, bro. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you too. Go ahead, Coach.
for you three, just before we began in our private chat, I put a link in there for you guys. It's called CoachTube. It's a site that you guys can go. It's a lot of stuff in there, videos, sessions, literature. Some most of it you have to purchase. Different rates. Some are like $5, some are $20, give or take, and there's some free ones in there. But all sports are in there, from youth football all the way up. Gives you different context, and you have some serious hitters in there that are giving lectures. One of them right now is Kirk French from Iowa, the head coach. So, it's stuff in there. This is a lot of stuff that I do, surfing the web and knowing all these sites that, I go into. And, while I haven't been to the NFL, there's a lot of stuff that I get from other people, as well as going to a lot of coaching clinics. But my channel is Ed's Amazing World of Sports on YouTube. I cover everything in sports, doesn't matter. I'm trying to build it up and, give you guys, just like Jeff, good quality content, help, bring it from a coaching perspective, not just from a fan's perspective, and, enlighten. And I'm also here to learn too, trying to build and learn. And, I go through all my analytics to figure out what I'm doing wrong, so, I can bring you different stuff. And, and NYG 22, I appreciate you, bro, for this, let me come on here and chop it up with you. I mean, it's just truly, truly phenomenal, and I'm really, loving the vibe, man. So keep doing what you're doing. I'm always gonna be here riding with you and supporting you, bro.
Definitely, man. And I appreciate you too, Coach, man. For sure, man. Go ahead, Nimmer.
So I'm gonna probably make my channel next summer, but like for a while I've been on Twitter at NimmerCon5. So I think some of you guys do follow me, but I'll double check. But you can look around there, and I am looking to put up a channel probably sometime summertime or probably when Christmas comes around because of class. So and NYG 22, you are awesome, bro. I support you always. I got your back always, bro. Anything you need, I got your back.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Nimmer, man. And I do follow you, man, just for the
Mm-hmm.
record. And like I said, I gave you your props. You've been on the tight end position the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I'm always give props where props is due. Don't matter who it is. Whether you got a channel, a content creator or not, you are a Giants fan and you are a part of this big blue community. And I do support you and I appreciate you, man, for real.
Thanks, bro.
But me, unpopular opinion sports, of course. Catch me on Twitter, NYG22. Um, I'm gonna try to make this show a weekly show. We might have to alter the schedule a little bit because I do not want to overlap with my fellow Big Blue Crew
Mm-hmm.
content creators. So we'll work on the scheduling a little bit, but this will be a weekly show. I like the vibe. I like the people that pull up, talk basketball, talk football, talk baseball, just sports in general. We can go around table, things like that. It's awesome. Appreciate everybody support, and please go subscribe to NYG Jeffy T 3285. This man brings you daily updates on all sports around the league. He even does wrestling. I haven't anybody do wrestling streams in a while. I popped in on one of his wrestling streams the other night and it was awesome. So please go subscribe to Jeffy T. Please
Thank
go
you.
subscribe to Coach Ed. Um, as you can see, he's our coach. He knows the X's and O's.
Yeah.
That's my go-to for the coach. Ed also does all sports, just like me. Very knowledgeable, and definitely follow, like, share, support his channel, and also go follow Neymar on Twitter. Um, like I said, he's been all over the tight end position since the start. Very knowledgeable fan and very supportive of his community. So that being said, till next time, peace.
Peace out.
Peace.
Take it easy, everyone.